Hi, Arjun.
Hey, good morning. Good morning, Vin. How are you doing?
I can't hear you.
Is it fine? Now you can hear me? How is it possible? Vikram, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Just hold on. I'm trying to start the video.
Okay. Vin, check your sound box. Check your sound box.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Vikram can hear me. Check your sound box.
Oh, yes, sorry. I think I had it on low. Okay, got
No.
it. Here we go.
Okay.
How are you?
I'm doing good. How are you this morning?
Oh, I'm well, thank you.
Okay, super.
You're doing a fantastic job every day.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Just 1 second. I'll be back. 1 second.
No worries.
So, I've got my presentation here, so I can just control it.
You can have a share screen button. Can you see that?
Can I just trial it now? Can I trial it?
You can. We are not live yet.
Okay, so let me just trial it so I know what I'm doing.
No worries. Okay, Ben.
Is that right? Can you see my screen now?
Let me see. Yep, we can see.
Screen आ रहा है. कहाँ से screen change होएगा मेरा?
Okay.
Okay, so I'll actually pick up Vikram first, and then I'll pick up you, right?
So you introduce me and then I can start talking?
Yeah, but I'll first introduce Vikram. Vikram is another panelist of yours. I'll first introduce Vikram. We'll have a fireside chat kind of conversation, and then I'll introduce you. I think we lost Vikram again, and after that we'll go for a question and answer session. And I want you to probably have a very deep understanding and give people what you do, and then probably why they need a trademark for their startup, how they start.
Yeah, so I've got a 20-minute presentation.
You can take half an hour, not a problem.
No, it's just that Deb told me to present 20 minutes, so I've got a 20-minute presentation.
That's okay. I mean, I'm saying that you can have half an hour as well. I mean, completely depends on you.
Well, I'll keep talking then.
No worries. Okay, so I'll just keep my video will be off for a few minutes because I'll set up everything, and then give me 2 minutes to 3 minutes, I'll come back.
Okay, no problem.
But I'm here, you can hear my voice. I'm here. I'm just managing whole thing.
I might just come back. Is that all right, Jim? I just want to get
Perfectly fine. No problem. No problem.
Sorry, Arijit. I was having some problems.
No worries. Is it fine now for you? Like you are okay?
Sorry, I can't hear you. Hold on. Let me increase the volume of the speaker. Yeah. Yeah. Sorry. What were you saying?
I'm saying, is it all right? Like you are okay? Good.
Actually, I got the background on, so that was interfering with the video.
Yeah, it was like looking horrible. Some grasses were actually showing like anything.
All wrong kind of grass early in the morning.
Of course. Okay, Shwetanjali, you are there in the panel now. I'm promoting you as a co-host so that you can manage the audience. Thank you so much, Shwetanjali, for joining. And these are the great team who are doing awesome stuff for us. Okay, so the mode will be pretty simple. I'll go live early today because of your early schedule. So what I'm going to do, okay, there are a couple of people who wanted to join. Hold on. Join, we are on. Okay, to tell you, this is not live yet, to give you a small brief. The mode I'm going to do is like, I'm going to give a brief rundown what happened in World Leader Summit. That would take 3 minutes max. I usually talk very fast. And then I'll come back to you, Vikram, and tell you that I'll greet you and then ask you, man, what exactly you do? You do a lot of stuff in life. So you can, tell us what all you do, okay? And then we go for a usual conversation regarding what is happening in few parts of the world, and probably we can start a conversation. Is it okay, or you want to do something else?
That sounds good.
Okay, perfect. श्वेता बेटा, मैं अभी लाइव जा रहा हूँ, तुमको भी मैं बना रहा हूँ co-host. So Shweta, Shwetanjali, both names are similar, but both of them are core integral part of World Leader Summit. So they actually know that it starts at 8 a.m. So like probably you'll see the room will be filled with people after 8:15. So okay, just float the news that we are starting for both of you, Shweta and Shwetanjali. Okay, and they can watch us in Facebook. Give me 2 minutes. I'm going live. Vikram, is it fine if we go live now? Blin, is it fine if we go live now?
Yep.
Super.
So, Jen, am I speaking first? Am I the first speaker?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, you're not a first. Vikram will be first.
I'll just wait for you guys.
Okay, so here we are, another exciting day for World Leaders Summit. And thank you so much for attending it for last couple of days. And we are really blessed that you all joined us. We are blessed with all those questions. We are blessed with all those answers that you got. We are blessed by the jury members who have taken their precious time selecting all those startups and industry leaders. We are blessed by those industry leaders who applied for the award. We are blessed by the people who are joining us. Thank you so much. It's a beautiful morning in India. It's about 7:45 a.m. And I'm sure wherever you are awake and you are watching us. So I have been getting text, I have been getting message in my WhatsApp Start early, we are awake. We are getting texts from Egypt. We got texts from Africa. We got texts from Australia. We got texts from USA. Thank you so much. These are all untold voices which became text. And those texts are becoming pictures. Those texts are getting shape. So, welcome to World Leaders Summit 2020, happening 7th of December to 16th of December. Stay blessed, and we have an exciting speaker today. Oh my God, Vikram, what an amazing profile you have, man. Glenn, my God, the kind of profile you have, and I was watching it. Whoa, man. Again, we are blessed. So I'll give you a small rundown what's going on. World Leaders Summit got 25 different themes with various multiple 120 plus industry leaders, which probably increased to 130. I need to calculate because yesterday we had 7 scientists and doctors who has been interacting with us. So if I calculate, probably we cross 130. But yes, again, we are blessed. We are blessed by all the partners, all the ecosystem players who are supporting us. Thank you, Anim Gaming, Jeep Technology, 8 Metals, Glam World Face, Avenue Global, Animation Reviews, Zupin Corp, Virtual Infocom, IO Industries, VGT, Cybersecurity Gig, I Am Superhero, Yoga Training for You, My Films, Sports Zone In, Second Life Tech, Cosplay Seller, Squash Code, Extra Designs, Entrepreneur Face, Achievers Hub, BizTech, Extended Reality Developers of India, iNage, Tech Sauce, Millennium Divas, Vadvani Foundation, NEN, IBM TV, Africa Digital, Adavas University, and HD Africa. Thank you so much. With this blessing morning, Vikram, the stage is yours. Let us understand what you do, man.
Thank you so much, Arijit, and a very good morning to you and to everybody here today. First of all, congratulations for a fantastic effort and this great, phenomenal event that you've put together. I've been watching whatever you've been doing. You know, it's phenomenal. It's fantastic. The participation that you've got from across countries, you know, across various startup ecosystems. It's just crazy. We could not ever have pulled something like this off, I think, had it not been for the whole online webinar platform, right? So thank you so much for giving me this opportunity, and I would love to interact with everybody here today. Instead of trying to keep it as you know, monologue and you know, then keep the question answer session at the end, I would encourage anybody and everybody to please interrupt me. Feel free to, it's a freewheeling chat. Please feel free to kind of interrupt whenever you want. You know, come up with the questions, queries, and you know, and I'll try my best to answer that. The topic of the day, I think, and the session is about funding and fundraising. And there are certain insights that I would like to share, having been on the other side, you know, having invested in so many companies across the, you know, for the almost close to a decade now. You know, startups rarely get to see or know what really goes on in the mind of the investor. So, you know, maybe if we have a couple of, you know, audiences, participants, panelists, shoot some basic queries initially, that'll be a good way to start off, kickstart the event or the session. Or if
well,
not,
let me be that audience, Vikram, because everybody knows that I am the devil who usually asks all these kind of questions to everyone. Well, yeah. So according to you, if we look at the startup ecosystem, at least from Indian part, according to you, we have seen so many people are coming up with their ideas. There are students who are probably in the college incubation centers. They have excellent ideas and they are looking for funding.
Right.
And they usually create a business plan and then send it to us and ask for money. So according to you, what will be your tips to these people who are looking for money first before creating any kind of MVP? Is it required to create an MVP first and then look for money? Or is it okay that if they have a nice, cool idea, then go for funding?
So thank you for starting off, and I think it's a very good point to start off with right at the very beginning from the idea stage, right? So nothing better than that. So let me take a couple of steps back and start off from the idea stage. A lot of people have got really interesting ideas, and they feel that theirs is something that's going to probably change the world, make it into $1 billion company and whatnot. Well, that's fantastic, great. You're off the starting block. You've already dived into the world of entrepreneurship. That's great. But uh, the most important thing that's required to run this idea and bring it to life is called vitamin C, which is the currency, which is the money, right? So a lot of the investors, so most of the, and I wouldn't say all, but most of the investors, whether it is the micro VCs or whether it is the angel investors, they do not invest in ideas by themselves alone. They would preferably like to see something that's already in a revenue generation mode, something that's already making money. But how do you get to make money if you don't even have money to begin with, right? So we encourage people to first ask from fools, family, friends, and fiance, like we say, the 4 F's, and try to get money from as many of these sources as they can. If not, there are startup competitions galore which give prize money. There are a lot of grants which go out. There are a lot of incubation centers, incubators which offer you initial startup. I wouldn't say even call it seed capital, but pre-seed capital, which really get you off the block in terms of just basically getting a prototype developed, starting your company, giving it a legal shape, formation, starting your operations, hiring one or two initial people, doing your pilot or doing your MVP. So the moment you've got an idea, ideally, preferably, we would like to see the entrepreneur put their own money, put their own finances, put their own skin in the game, and take it to the level of doing a pilot or prototype or an MVP. But if they do not have that option, like I mentioned, they've got all these other options available where you can possibly get that early money to be able to take it to that stage. Now the moment you've got to the incubation stage or an incubator, and you've got that 20 lakhs, 30 lakhs kind of amount, or 10 lakhs or 5 lakhs or whatever it is, through grants or prize money or incubation center, uh, you've got your early customers coming in. That's really the time to start approaching angel investors, because your valuation is probably low. At that point, you do not want to probably dilute a whole lot of equity to a venture capital fund, which will typically end up taking anywhere between 20 to 30% of your stake. uh, and if you know some good angel investors who can not only just provide the money but also be your mentor and guide and provide you that kind of direction and the kind of market connects and linkages, that would be the best scenario. uh, so try to find somebody in your domain, in the kind of industry that you're working in, whether it's agri or agri-tech or health tech or fintech or whatever it is that you're working in. Try to find somebody who's already been there, done that, maybe a successful entrepreneur, maybe somebody who's been a CEO or a senior management person in that kind of company in that sector. So somebody who can provide you that kind of domain expertise that's also required, because in the very early stages, it's very critical to not just have the product or the domain experience which you think you have, but also have that external perspective. And in addition to that, I think what's really important to have those complementing skill sets that are required to build a company. So not just from the product perspective, but also from the perspective of having somebody who can handle the finance and the legal part, and somebody who can handle probably the sales and the marketing or business development part. So I think these are the three legs, of the tripod, that are really critical in terms of building a team. And that team is the most important entity that's going to be, that's going to be determining whether or not your venture is going to succeed or fail. Because as you've seen, external and internal influences are always there, and due to sudden changes in the government policy or market dynamics or what have you, businesses have to pivot all the time. And when businesses have to pivot, investors really need to know and need to have that kind of faith that this team that is there is going to persevere, is going to continue, is going to keep striving and keep working to make this venture successful and not just give up, right? And unforeseen eventualities do happen. So it's always better to have two or more people on the team rather than just a solo entrepreneur. A lot of people have also asked, do solo entrepreneurs not get funded? Of course they do. But it's always preferable to have two or more people on the team, like I said, who can kind of take care of multiple aspects. Like as in cricket, I can give you an example, right? I mean, you need to have a good batting lineup, a good fielding team, a fielding side, a good bowling lineup, right? You need to have left hand, right hand, spinner, fast pacing bowler. So you need to have the entire range. If not, at least you need to have these three domains that you've covered. And the moment you've got to that level, you've got the initial angel investors. That's when you start looking at the micro VCs or the early stage venture capital funds to scale up your venture.
True. Super answer. So I've got a question in the Q&A box already from Malaysia. Farah is asking, good morning, Vikram. What are the investment sectors that you are looking at to invest, and what are your requirements, basis for making an investment? Thank you.
Thanks. So we are sector. So just to give you a very quick background, Ekel Ventures is an angel syndicate or angel platform, which we have created just last year. We can do up to $1 million in terms of the ticket size. We are sector agnostic because we've got some few super HNIs who all have different varied interests. And so like I said, so sector agnostic, we can do anywhere from, I'm sorry, I'm not translating it into dollars. I'm talking about, so about 50 lakhs to about, so that may be possibly about, say, $10,000 to say about anywhere up to $1 million. I think that should give everybody a good range of what we can do. And we're happy to co-invest in even the pre-Series A and the Series A rounds, and coming in with other institutional funds if the company is raising even up to, like, say, $2 or $3 million, right? Now, what is important for us to look at is, like I said, the team, which is the most important piece, the founders, their kind of resilience, their background, their domain expertise, what are they really bringing to the table, the complementing skill sets, have they managed to scale up such kind of ventures before or not? So all of these things are really important. Along with that, what we look for is the defensibility of the idea or the product or the service. We would preferably want to seek an innovative solution which has some kind of IPR or patent or some kind of way to protect the intellectual property behind it. But even if there is no patent or IPR or anything possible, we definitely would want to look at something that is totally unique out there, which gives the company the head start over the entire competition, so they're able to get the cream of the market and able to get in there before anybody else does. Because that's really what we've seen so far that goes the longest way. The earlier company that goes out there and gets funded and gets the maximum market share is the one who ends up becoming the category leader and eventually the unicorn. We've had so many examples of people who came probably so up to 2 or 3 companies in the top is what there is really the space for. If you are entering the market segment when people have already raised $50 million or $100 million, frankly the game is over there. Because and the reason why I'm saying that is because for the subsequent institutional investors to come in, they need to be able to sell their equity, their stake to somebody else also. And more money keeps on following the startups that have already gotten funded. I know it's probably not fair, but that's the way life works. So if you're probably among the first one or two or three of the guys to enter that particular category or segment, you've probably got everything going for you. If you're probably coming in at sixth, seventh, eighth spot, you've got a tough road ahead. So yeah.
Okay. So I was actually interacting with a couple of people across the world. I'll take the name of those countries. For an example, for last couple of months, I have been talking with people from Iceland, people from Lebanon, from Nigeria, from Zimbabwe, from US, from Canada. And what I have found so far, it's a very common fact that every startup got a very similar kind of issue. That issue is, if I got a great idea in my mind, and if I get a couple of my college students coming all together, somebody who is an investor will come on board and invest on my idea. And because it's a unique idea, we are not ready to share our idea. Before sharing, I need to sign an NDA. And after signing that NDA, only then we'll share the facts to the potential investor. Before that, you need to say yes. And then only we'll send the NDA. Your thoughts on the same?
So yeah, this is something very common I come across as well. Frankly, most investors, and I'm saying most, do not believe in signing an NDA, mainly because ideas are a dime a dozen. So, I can give you 20 ideas sitting here that will probably become unicorns by themselves. But it's not really the idea that matters, it's the execution that matters. We've had so many cases, so many examples of failed executions, of flawed execution, of people not being able to kind of, pull everything that is required to make things work. And for one reason or another, they could not succeed. So even if you get all the idea and all the know-how, it's not an easy task to go out there and make a venture succeed. So it's really all about execution. But having said that, yes, there are a few investors and angel investors and VCs who are open to the concept of signing an NDA, because really it doesn't mean much at the end of the day, until and unless you've made a really successful company, and unless and until you've got patents across the world. I mean, you're probably you're in the category of Albert Einstein or somebody like that, who you are innovating like crazy, and you've got some breakthrough, groundbreaking invention. So sure, I mean, you'll probably have somebody willing to even sign an NDA. But the thing is, that's not what is really the main issue. The main issue is getting the investor interested in your business. The investor is not a romantic who's going to get fascinated by your idea and fall in love with it and live with it for the rest of his or her life. You are the person as the founder who probably has to, be with your venture or startup. But the investor is here only for a period of 3 to 4 or 5 or 6 years before they make an exit. The investor is here only to make money. The investor is here only to get an upside. So if they're getting into your venture at level X, then they need to make an exit at probably 20x or 30x to be able to kind of get those kind of returns on their money and effort and energy and time, right? So I think that perspective is very important for the startups and the founders not to lose that sight of, because they get very easily swayed by the whole romanticism of the idea and how big it can actually get, rather than, I mean, so, how big, there are various ways to define how big. And the way investors look at how big is purely in monetary terms. So it's very important to have that metric firmly in place, that when you're looking at scaling up your venture, when you're looking at defining how big my idea can get, you need to be very clear what kind of a multiple return you're going to be able to give your investors at the end of the day. I think that's what's most important.
Super. So there is a very interesting fact that comes from investors' perspective, be that from Australia, be that from China or UK. So I've been interacting with a lot of them, and there is a very simple, interesting fact that came up. There are overvaluation happening in the market.
Yeah.
Probably the way valuation is happening, in no way we can actually cross check it. And sometimes as an investor, we need to rely on a few of the audit firms. Is there any way you suggest that as an investor, from the perspective of gut feelings of investor, rather I would say in this way, we can have some amount of comfort zone to understand whether this is valuation has been done properly or the way they are trying to evaluate their business is not that decent or not that accurate.
So that's a very interesting and very pertinent and very relevant question that comes up all the time. I can tell you this much: I have not come across a single investor who has gone by the valuation report of an audit firm or a chartered accountant firm or the startup's quotation of that valuation. So at the end of the day, it's a price that the founders or the audit firms or their account and legal firms are quoting. On the other hand, the investor is the one who's putting in the money, so they are going to quote their own price at the end of the day for the shares that they are going to purchase. So valuation at early stages typically, so there is various methods to arrive at the valuation when a company is in a later stage. But at an early stage, valuation typically, in most cases, is a function of your, either the last 12 months trailing revenues and a multiple of that, or your annual run rate, ARR, as we speak, right? So earlier pre-COVID era, and of course it differs from industry to industry, but pre-COVID era, the valuation would typically, the thumb rule was that take your last 12 months last 12 trailing months revenues, and either you get a 7x, anywhere between 7x to 10x as your valuation. And like I said, it depends on the sector. So for example, in the agri sector, where there is not too much margins and you're doing a farm to fork kind of a model, the valuation would typically be
Well, it's common for online summit. There are some network glitch that happens. So don't worry, guys. I mean, he's there with us. I'm sure he'll be coming back soon. So if I may dare to share my experience while investing in probably startups, my understanding that happened globally when I go for any kind of valuation, at least. I usually go for the structure of team and then of course the revenue that is there for last 12 months. And then there are calculation methods which we can always go for. Not only that, if you have got a patent, that adds a lot of value. If you got some amount of product which has already got some market and is selling, probably that adds a lot of addition to increase your valuation. But end of the day, it's not about valuation. End of the day, how long you are sustaining and what kind of venture you are doing, what kind of impact you are making in the market. So that's probably one of the best way to take things forward. And I'm sure
sorry,
that
I got
Vikram is back.
disconnected.
That's fine. That's fine. I'm sure that Vikram is back and he can always, share his insights regarding the same. Yeah, Vikram, you're saying yes.
Yeah, so sorry, I got disconnected. So I was just saying that the valuations have actually dropped down from a 7x to 10x. They've come down in the range of 5x to 7x. And, if you look at that is of the last 12 trailing months, and if you look at the ARR, then if you're hitting a monthly run rate of, whatever X, then it's probably in the range of a 3x to 4x or 5x at the most. And not really more than that is the valuation. And having said that, this is really the thumb rule, but there is no, formula to arriving at any kind of, valuation. At the end of the day, it's a negotiation between the investor and the startup, because it's not just about the valuation. It's also about a whole bunch of other things like, the equity of the founders have to be vested over a period of time. There are things like tag along clauses, drag along clauses, right of first refusal, and so on and so forth. There are multiple things in the term sheet which the founders need to be careful about when they are negotiating with any incoming investor. And it's not just simply about the valuation. And there's pre-money and post-money, and a lot of the times investors give it in various tranches, and they say that, hey, okay, we are giving you, for example, say 500K right now, and if you meet certain milestones within the next 6 months, then we'll release another 500K. And if that happens, then we'll do it at a certain different valuation. Or maybe even if, in case you want to skip the whole valuation negotiation or the debate, there are ways to do it. You can go for convertible debentures, which can say that, look, when the final institution round happens with the venture capital fund, which is going to come down the line, I'm going to give this investor anywhere between a 20% to 30% discount on the valuation that I'm going to get later. So, right now this is on the books as more of a debt. So it's a convertible debenture. That's the technical term for it. So you don't really get into the whole valuation negotiation at this stage, but you just move ahead with, growing your business. So there are a lot of ways to go around it. And I think what's important for the startups is to understand that they not get stuck up and hung up about just this one thing.
Super, super cool. Well, there are a few of the questions. Let me give you a small understanding. We already got people from Malaysia, from India. We got, we got Australia. And thank you, Australia, for all the insights that you are giving for last couple of days. And of course, you have got a person from Lebanon. And I can see Bangladesh is trying to join. And yes, so we added him. So thank you so much for attending. And in social media, we can see that Africa is supporting like anything. My God, that's the way to support things. That's the reason I think people say that life starts from the land of Africa. Okay, so with this note, I've got a question from social media for you, Vikram. We are a agri farm from Africa, and willing to understand how do we connect to the investors and how do we raise fund. I'll make it simple for them because it's a very generic one. So they are making money as per my understanding. I know this fellow who is asking question. So they are making money at the moment. They are into mainly rice production, and they have a uniqueness of very specific white rice. They are doing packaging and selling in the local market, and they are practically looking for a simple bit of money to scale up their venture and extend it to some other country. So what's your suggestion to them?
So like I said, unless and until you cannot guarantee a 20x or 30x return to the investor, equity funding is a very expensive way of raising money. If you're in the business where you're probably going to end up giving 4x, 5x kind of a return, then I think it's best for you to opt for something like a debt instrument rather than go for equity. So there are various kinds of funding that is also available. It's not just equity funding. There is revenue-based funding, where you give a percentage of your revenue back to the investor in return for providing that kind of funding. There are a lot of funds that do that. In fact, in Europe and US, there are a lot of big firms out there which provide this revenue-based funding. Debt obviously has been for the longest time the most most easily accessible or most easily available kind of funding, to whether it's from banks or NBFCs or such kind of institutions. There are a lot of these social impact kind of venture entities, organizations also, that provide unsecured loans, unsecured debt, capital to these kind of companies and startups. So you don't really need to have some kind of property or collateral to be able to raise that kind of money from these kind of organizations. Yes, the interest rate is a little higher than what you would get from typically banks if you were to give them some kind of a collateral. But I think, given the kind of the margins that are available, and, if it's a typically a regular business or more close to a traditional business, I would say you should more, you should opt for something like that rather than go for equity funding. And in every ecosystem, there are obviously players. There are, like I said, incubation centers, accelerators, angel networks, venture capital funds. You should try reaching out to those guys. There are definitely startup-based events. There are industry events that happen. Attend those events. Try using platforms like LinkedIn to reach out to the people who you think might be in a position to be able to give you that kind of funding. So I don't think in today's connected world there's really a dearth of options available in terms of accessibility. It's just about going out, and a lot of these guys are open to receiving applications on their websites and they make their official email IDs public. I mean, they're open to everybody, so you can just send them your pitch deck. Yeah, and in the worst case, I mean, there are obviously investment bankers who form a very integral part of this value chain, who are able to get you that kind of funding for a certain percentage of success fee. So there are whole bunch of options open. I mean, you don't really have to kind of go hunting around, I think, today.
Super. And I can see there is a great personality who joined from Egypt. To give you a small understanding about this person, although he's staying in participants list, because he just texted me he don't want to be in the he don't want to turn on his camera. Well, he's an ex-military from Egyptian army, and he is now working with us in entrepreneur phase as the international business developer for us. And he just texted me to ask you this question. So we as an entrepreneur phase have been giving work and orders to local startup companies, and he actually did it with one Indian firm, and they signed an agreement, of course, with jointly. And he is asking that when we give work to these newcomers in the market, we actually understand how they work and whether they can execute any kind of order globally. And then probably we go for the funding methods, and we understand the strength of this startup, and it validates whether the startup can actually execute or not. And we are trying to put the same thing in front of the investors, that this is a validated startup and he executed such and such works for us. What do you feel, Mr. Duggal? Sorry, he wrote in that way, but I'll put it in this way. It is Duggal, not Duggal, Ahmed. So what do you feel, Mr. Duggal? Is it the right way that we are doing, or you feel we should validate the startup according to the books?
No, I think it's a fantastic way, and it's the best way to validate a startup. In fact, we suggest that for a whole bunch of our portfolio companies as well before we onboard them, that we try to give them some kind of a business or some kind of an order to see how they actually perform. Because like I said at the very beginning, it's not just about the idea, it's all about the execution. So you may have a great product or a great service, but if you're not able to get out there and able to satisfy your customers, then it's all worth a big zero at the end of the day. So we definitely try to give some kind of a initial order or initial kind of opportunity to pilot or do a proof of concept or market testing to all these startups, so that we get that validation that this product works on ground as it was intended to do, and the customers are really happy with it, and we get a very genuine feedback from the customers, which goes a long way into deciding whether we are actually going to invest in these companies or not. So I think that's a fantastic strategy that really works well. And it's a great decision that you've decided to choose that kind of an approach.
So Ahmed, we didn't, did something wrong, man. We are in good shape. You, May, Dave, Marco, and all the others who are actually working. So that's the validation that is coming from the horse's mouth, man. Thank you so much for the question, by the way, Ahmed. Well, yes.
And may I also add,
Yeah.
and may I also add that the revenues that come from those kind of orders, that in fact helps, kind of improve your valuation also of the startup.
Yes, true. Thank you so much, Vikram. I know that you have a hard stop at 8:25. We saved your 2 minutes. That's the way we do entrepreneurship. Saving time becomes money. But I'm sure we'll have you back again because there will be questions from social media. We will be waiting for you. Take your time. So for the audience, he'll be back. Don't worry.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Arijit, and looking forward to rejoining this conversation.
Thank
Thanks
you
again.
so much. Thanks for the insights, Vikram. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, let me take the opportunity to introduce you Blin Ray. Bin is from Australia. She's a trademark attorney, a branding expert, associate, and Boxer IP. A patent and trademark attorney, keynote speaker, media communicator, service clients. My God, I can go on a day with your profile. Oh my gosh. Wow. Bin, how are you?
Thank you, Ajit. Thank you for the wonderful introduction. I would like to thank you personally for letting me have the platform today, because I think trademarking and branding is something that entrepreneurs and startup companies don't really think about when they start up their business. They get so excited about their ventures and they want to get stuck into selling products, getting a website, getting a logo, but what they don't understand is that the branding that they're creating needs to be trademarkable. So what I'm hoping today's presentation will be is to let everyone know that when you're starting up a new business or a new startup, just take a bit of time at the beginning, because it's actually free to spend the time to research the brand that you want to call your product or services that you would like to launch into the marketplace, to ensure that whatever you end up choosing is not going to be infringed an existing trademark within the country that you want to launch in or elsewhere around the world. So thank you for the opportunity, World Leader Summit, to allow me to present today. Should I start my presentation?
100%, yes. The stage is yours, of course.
Thank you very much. Okay, so hello everyone. My name's Bin Rai. I'm a trademark attorney at Baxter IP. As I alluded before, taking the time to get your brand right before you start the business is really important. And today's presentation will hopefully help you come up with a brand name that's trademarkable, and also help you to avoid costly mistakes when choosing a brand name. Sorry, I don't seem to be able to move it to the next page. Okay. So today's presentation, I will go through what is a trademark, why trademark registration is important for startups in existing businesses. I'll run through an Australian case study just so that you can understand the practical implications of choosing the wrong name. And I'll give you my top 5 tips to create a trademarkable brand so that you can avoid infringement. And I'll then summarize it at the end of my presentation. So what is a trademark? Okay, a trademark acts like a badge of origin in the sense that it indicates the connection in the course of trade between goods and the person who applies the mark to the goods. A trademark can be a letter, a number, a word, a phrase, a logo, a picture, aspects of packaging, sound, smell, or shape. A trademark can be for a brand for either goods or services. There are 45 classes of protection. And a trademark is a very valuable asset able to be sold or signed or licensed out. So these are some examples of trademarks. As you can see, Nike, Coca-Cola, Sprite, Intel, Apple, Zara, Amazon. Imagine these companies not owning a trademark means that all the money that they've spent promoting these brands would be lost because other people will be able to use those brands. So these are examples of logo trademarks. And the thing to note with logo trademarks is that each time you change your logo, you must reapply to get trademark registration. So these are some examples of how some of the original logos looked like for Instagram, Nike, and Apple. And every time they had changed their logo, they had to reapply for the logo mark around the world. So it could be a very costly exercise. So usually we recommend startups to initially trademark the word, because with a word mark, you can change your logo as often as you want, and you will still maintain your trademark protection. Shape and packaging trademarks. The Coca-Cola drinking glass has been trademarked. The Kit Kat chocolate shape is another shape trademark. And also the Cadbury dairy milk packaging, you can also trademark packaging as well. So I want to run through this Australian case study of a large company. This was a court case in Australia where Nestle versus James Christian. So James Christian was a sole trader, and he started a vitamins business called Asahi. And I'd say about 4 years later, Musashi, who's owned by Nestle, started court proceedings against James Christian, even though he was starting, he had a very successful online vitamins business. So James didn't think that he was infringing on Musashi's trademark, so he was happy to go to court and see what the judge will say. And unfortunately, in this scenario, James actually lost, and these are the lessons from the court case. Even though this is an Australian court case, the principles can be applied around the world. The elements of the lessons learned can be applied around the world. So what are the lessons learned from this court case? Well, James said to the judge, well, I didn't know that Asahi was infringing on Musashi. To me, they sound very different. Musashi, Asahi. Well, the judge said, you can't claim ignorance as an excuse for infringing another mark. James also said to the judge, I have a domain name, I have a trading name, I have a company name, but none of those actually provide you any protection for the trademark. So you might be in Africa, in Canada, in the US, Australia, New Zealand, India. Just because the government gives you a company name doesn't mean you can actually use that brand legally. So in this case, none of those aspects of his domain names or trading name provided James with any brand protection. And ultimately, if you end up going to court over infringement, you're actually leaving it to the judge in that court case to decide your fate. And in every country, there are different types of judges and different rules in every country. So you're effectively allowing one person to decide the fate of your business. And in this case, the judge that was presiding over this court case decided that Musashi and Asahi were too similar in the marketplace. So therefore, James Christian's brand was infringing on Nestle's Musashi brand. And the judge said, as a final summary, he said to James, well, you should have attempted to obtain a trademark when you first started your business. Because if you had attempted to apply for the trademark and the trademark office in Australia had given you the registration for your brand, you would have been safe to use that brand. However, because he didn't actually apply for the trademark when he first started, he'll never know whether that Asahi brand would have been approved by the examiner 4 years back. And the silver lining would be is that if he did apply for that trademark 4 years ago and he was rejected by the examiner, then at least 4 years ago, he would have had the opportunity to change that brand to a different name so that he wouldn't be in the position of being sued by Nestle 4 years later, okay? So unfortunately, James actually lost his business. He had to shut down his business. His initial investment of $220,000 was lost. He had to pay some of Nestle's legal fees because he lost the court case. And for about 18 months, he was so stressed and uncertain that it wasn't worth going to court over. Effectively, if Nestle had asked him to change the name, he could have been better off just changing the name to begin with when he was asked to, than to go to court and basically losing the lot. So this is the example that I wanted to show you, even though it's based in Australia, that there are some elements of why getting a trademark is very important at the beginning, just to ensure that you know you can use that brand name to build your business upon, without having to think that someone is going to take you to court once you're successful. So the lesson here is, don't start a business without seeking trademark protection for the business, service, or product locally or overseas. And that is, and getting a trademark in your local country isn't very expensive. So I encourage everyone to check with your trademark expert within their country to make sure whichever brand that you want to launch is trademarkable. All right, here are some trademark facts, which are universal. So trademark protection is per country. So there's no such thing as an international trademark. You have to apply per country for trademark protection. In most countries, they give you 10-year protection, and that trademark can be renewed forever. A word trademark provides better protection than a logo trademark, as I had alluded earlier, that if you obtain a word trademark, it doesn't matter what your logo looks like, you still have protection. Trademarks have to be distinctive and unique for the brand to be registerable. You have to use it or you'll lose it. You cannot protect a brand if you don't intend to use it. I think it was 2 years ago, Big Mac, McDonald's had trademarked Big Mac for restaurants in Europe, and Supermac, which is a company in Ireland, took them to the European courts, and they actually were successful in revoking Big Mac's trademark for restaurants in Europe. And it's a simple reason. Has anyone seen a Big Mac restaurant opened around the world anywhere? And effectively, McDonald's had obtained a trademark for Big Mac for the restaurant class, but they had no intention of opening a Big Mac restaurant. So therefore, trademarks are not like domain names where you can sit on them and not use them. If you're going to get a trademark, you must have to use it. The best trademarks to obtain are first to use it and first to file for trademark registration. So if you're the first one to use that brand and you're first to trademark it, then you have the best protection you can obtain. However, let's say if you're the first to use it, but the second to trademark it, you won't be able to stop anyone before you that had used the trademark first from using the trademark, because your trademark registration only starts from the time that you had applied for it. So it's always best to be first to use it and first to trademark for the registration. Trademark owners are responsible for policing their trademarks, because there are no such thing as the trademark police around the world. There's no one going to go around going, you are infringing on somebody else's trademark. The trademark owner must police their own trademark. And it's important to note that each country's trademark office examines each application independently of other countries. So you may be able to get a trademark in America, but you may not be able to get one in Africa or Australia. And it could be for various reasons, whether something's already been trademarked or someone's already used it. So it's not an automatic right, just because you get one trademark in one country, that you're going to get trademarks in other countries. So therefore, you've got to seek expert advice if you're going to launch a global brand. So this is my top 5 tips to create a trademarkable brand. And part of these 5 tips is based on my experience as a branding marketing manager. When I've had 20 years of branding and marketing experience prior to becoming a trademark attorney. So having a branding background, understanding how brand is structured, and now knowing the legal side of trademarks, it allows me to be able to assist the clients in a much holistic way. So these are my top 5 tips to create a trademarkable brand. So number 1, avoid descriptive names for your brand. Descriptive names cannot be trademarked. So these are some examples. If you're in, delicious food for takeaway food, you wouldn't be able to trademark delicious food. If you're in the shipping industry, global is required to be used by your other traders. London mortgages, that's very descriptive. If someone is a mortgage broker in London, they should be able to say that they're a London mortgage broker. Reverse cycle for air conditioners. Every machine is a reverse cycle. Discount beer for the sale of beer. Fast cars for the type of cars. Thins for snack food. Actually, thins is a really interesting one. Corn thins, I don't know whether they're around the world, but it's a product in supermarkets in Australia. I did a search and corn thins is trademarked in New Zealand, Australia, Canada, but it is not trademarked in the US. And corn thins, actually, the manufacturers of corn thins, Real Foods, Proprietary Limited, I believe, they took it to the courts to argue the case that they should be able to have a descriptive trademark in the US. And unfortunately in the US, they lost the appeal to obtain that trademark, but they were successful in the other countries because they were able to provide evidence of use that they created the brand. So again, as I said, the more descriptive your brand is, the unlikelihood that you're going to be able to trademark that brand. So please avoid descriptive names for your brand if you're starting up a new brand. If a consumer can guess what you do by your brand name, then it's likely to be descriptive, therefore unlikely to be granted a trademark protection. And if you're lucky enough to get trademark protection, unfortunately, it's what we consider a weak trademark because it offers you very limited protection. Because you can't go around suing the other traders for using a descriptive name because they should have the ability to use a descriptive name in their course of trade. Okay, so ideas of how to avoid descriptive names, all right? So be brave, invent a word. So examples here, Kodak was an invented word and we know what they do. Pepsi, Kleenex, Nike, they were all invented words. And I always remind my clients because they go, oh, well, Kodak's so famous, Nike's so famous. But I remind them, when they first started, Nike, all those years back in the 1970s, do you think they were a global instant brand? No, they started like everybody else, very small, and they've just been able to build the brand over the years. And now the brand is very desirable. So don't be afraid, invent a word and you will be able to trademark it. You can use suggestive words which do not directly describe. So for example, cuddly for fabric softeners, Vision Master for spectacles. So, those are trademarkable. And then the best ones are unrelated meanings. So Apple, imagine Steve Jobs, who the hell would want to call their computers Apple after a fruit? Who would be in their right brain to do that? But he was brave. And as we know today, Apple is known for innovation. They're known for their stylish products. And the founder was brave enough to give it an unrelated name to their product. Another example is CAT for earth moving machinery. And so, yeah, be brave. Give it an unrelated name and see how you go. And they are definitely trademarkable names. So number 2, please avoid copying an established brand, okay? This is a big no-no. And the reason I say that is because they've got deep pockets, okay? Ajit and Vikram was just saying how hard it is to get funding to start up a business. Why would you want to start up a brand name that you're going to get sued immediately? Okay, so avoid copying established brands. And I'll just give you some examples, which you might have a good laugh at. In South Korea, a restaurant called themselves Louis Vuitton Dak. Okay, so Ton Dak apparently means whole chicken in Korean. And so that's what they look like, the restaurant. And that was their packaging of their chicken. So you can't tell me that Louis Vuitton is not going to sue the pants out of them. Of course they are. And the guy, the founder of this business, he was quite a funny guy, because even though he was taken to court and he actually lost the court case, he changed it again, but he put cha in front of it. Cha Louis Vuitton Duck. And guess what? He got sued the second time. So just because you put cha in front of it, you're not going to trick Louis Vuitton or the public that you're not trying to copy Louis Vuitton. So anyway, please do not follow this trader in South Korea. Please avoid copying a large brand. And another example, in 2003, a deli in New York was sued by Rolex watches. Okay, you're gonna laugh at this one. So the New York deli was called Rolex Deli. Okay, so if you say it fast, Rolex, so Rolex. Anyway, they got sued by Rolex in the end. And he even though you look at it, it doesn't infringe, but when you say it, it does infringe. So they actually lost the court case because they found that he was infringing. And again, Rolex, I think, did take him to court, but ultimately they also sued him in the civil courts, and they were looking at fining him $500 a day in infringement every day until he actually changed his name. So I think by the time he got fined over a month of $500 a day, he actually did finally change his name to something else. So I just also wanted to just give an Australian example because I'm Australian. So this was in Adelaide, a chocolate company, a manufacturer. They were called No. 5 Chocolates, and they were sued by Chanel No. 5 perfume makers. That was their brand, No. 5 Chocolates, and that's Chanel No. 5. And they actually had to rebrand because they didn't want to go to court. And this is what they ended up rebranding to, Choc 5 Lit. So Choc 5 Lit is okay, but No. 5 Chocolate is not okay, all right? So hopefully the 3 examples I've given gives you enough examples to know what to avoid. Do not copy famous brands, please. Okay, tip number 3, avoid personal names. I know we're all egotistic people and we're all loving our names. I can't say that I love my name, but anyway, but lots of people love their names. And this is an example of Kylie. So Kylie Minogue, who's an Australian actor and singer, famous in the 1980s, trademarked Kylie much longer before Kylie Jenner became famous. And so Kylie Jenner tried to trademark Kylie Cosmetics in the States, and Kylie Minogue tried to stop her because she owns the trademark. So they are 2 celebrities that have lots of money to go and fight in the courts. But in the end, what had happened was they actually had a settlement out of court over the name. So that just shows you that it's actually not advisable to use a name, because well, 2 things. It's hard to trademark it because you've got to prove that you're famous or that you've created the brand. And secondly, it's actually not a very unique brand to use your own personal name. There's a pending court case in Australia, Katy Perry versus Katy Perry, and that's due in the courts in 2021. So the Australian Katy Perry Apparently Katy Perry is her maiden name, and she's an Australian fashion designer. And Catherine Elizabeth Hudson, who is got a stage name Katy Perry, is well known as an American singer. And so therefore they've got to now go to court to settle who can use Katy Perry in Australia. So please avoid personal names if you can help it. Tip number 4, avoid geographical location and geographical indication words in your brand name. So geographical location examples are as follows: Bondi Water. Well, Bondi is a famous beach in Sydney, even though it may not be famous anywhere around the world, but it is famous in Australia. New York Deli. I mean, New York is known for their delis, but also just avoid the location name New York. Milan Leather. Milan is famous Italian city known for their fashion labels. So really just avoid using a geographical location. A geographical indicator is slightly different to a geographical location. Geographical indication, which is referred to as GI in trademark terms, is a sign used on products that have a specific geographical origin and possess qualities or a reputation that is due to that origin, okay? So for example, of GIs is champagne. So you cannot use, if you're a winemaker, you cannot use the word champagne if you're not producing wine, a sparkling wine within the France region. Darling tea, cognac, scotch, tequila, they're all GI words. So you cannot use those words. So if you're producing products, you've got to make sure that you search to see if a name is a geographical indicator, because if you, let's say, end up using champagne, well, you're going to get the body that owns the word for champagne in France suing you for breach of trademark. So in Australia, and I'm sure around the world, because when champagne obtained their GI status, all the other winemakers had to now call their champagne sparkling wine. So in Australia, when there's a champagne style product, it's called sparkling wine in Australia. Tip number 5, spend time to research your brand name before launching. So as we spoke about, it's so hard to launch a new brand, to get venture capitalists to, or angel investors to put money in your business so you can grow. This last tip is free. You don't have to spend money to do this. All you have to do is spend time to search before launching your brand. And what you need to do is conduct Google searches on the brand name you want to use in various related industries. So not just in one industry, but in various industries. And I'll give you an example in the next slide. You also have to conduct local and international trademark searches. And this maybe you may need assistance with. And then you've also got to conduct, I guess, a domain search, because everyone wants the most desirable domain name, which is the .com domain name. So if all those 3 things, you've conducted the search and it's available, then bingo, you've actually just created a unique name that you will be able to use safely when you launch your product. So I just thought I'd give you an example. So let's say you're launching a skincare product, okay? So I would conduct a Google search in various industries. So even though it's a skincare product, what I would search for would be whatever the brand name is. I would search under beauty products, skincare, cosmetics, maybe luxury, the word luxury, sunscreen, skin, dermatology, beauty care, and so forth. And the reason why you would do that is you want to do a search to make sure that the related industries also don't have that brand name that you want to use. Because within the trademark classifications, related industries could stop your brand from being trademarked, okay? You have to conduct a local international trademark search for wherever the brand is, and then also check the domain name. So if you do all of that, you're more likely to have a trademarkable name. However, if you start like most other entrepreneurs or startups and go, well, I love this name, I just thought of it, and they don't do any research, that's actually a really bad way of starting up a brand. And the reason I say that, it's like having a baby, you know, and it's probably going to only be relatable to females, where you're carrying the baby and 9 months later the baby pops out. You've already got a name of the baby in your head, and imagine that name in your head. You're so attached to it that you don't want to change it. But what if it's not trademarkable? You've spent all that time and energy, and it's not trademarkable, so therefore you can't have that name. So that attachment to a brand name is like being attached to a baby's name. You know, once you've started the process without doing the research, it's very hard for a trademark attorney or an expert to be able to assist you at that point, because what we'd be doing is almost doing the impossible, trying to get you a trademark that is unable to be trademarkable. Okay. So in summary, if your brand name is not trademarked, you do not own your brand. Okay. A company name, a trading name, a domain name, trading history does not protect you legally if there's a dispute over a business name, product name, or service name. Only a registered trademark legally protects your brand, and you have to get it in each country that you want to launch in. So trademark ownership is for 10 years in the majority of the countries. I think Canada at one stage had 15 years, but I think they're sort of coming back in line with the rest of the world to make it 10 years ownership. Trademark owners must enforce their trademark registration rights, because if you don't enforce your, enforce your brand rights, you might dilute the brand. And startups can avoid costly trademark infringement by just simply spending the time at the beginning researching the brand name. It doesn't cost you any money. So thank you for your time, and I hope you learned something from my presentation. And I'm more than happy to answer any questions you have now, and welcome everyone to connect with me on LinkedIn or shoot me an email. So thank you very much, Ajit, and everyone that's on this session. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Lynn. I need a small favor before we hop into the question and answer session. I'm just turning off your sharing. Could you please look at the camera for a picture?
Sure.
1, 2, 3, go. Yeah. Thank you so much. Okay, so there is a question which is, can you hear me? Yeah.
Yes.
There was a comment in Facebook by someone from Russia. Her name is Evgenia, and she told that she's asking to us, to me, what is the meaning of this logo of World Leaders Summit? Why it look like this? Okay, I'll explain you what is the meaning of this logo. The I, the dot that you see, that's the human, that's the leader. And the circle that you're watching, that's the world. So as a leader, you are inside the world. You are not above the world. But at the same time, when you are a leader, you have to have a top view, an eagle's view from the top to the world. And that's the reason you have that dot on the top of that big circle. So as a leader, you should be able to see the world from the top-notch approach. So at the same time, as a leader, you are inside the world as well as above the world. That's the meaning of the logo. Thank you so much for the question. But I've got a couple of interesting questions for you, Ben. So yes. Probably Dr. Hazel wants to ask you something, although it is there in the comment box, but I'll request her to turn her camera on if she is there. I can't see her. Probably some network glitch is happening. I'll ask this question on behalf of her. Sure. Great presentation, Ben. Interested in your thoughts on Chinese companies copying global brands.
Oh yes, thank you for asking that question. In China, actually, there are only 2 countries where, so in most of the majority of the countries, you have to use the brand, okay, to be able to trademark it. But in China and in Japan, you don't. you have to be the first to file it. So you can actually go and sit on trademarks in China and in Japan, but nowhere else. So I'll give you an interesting story. About, I think 2 or 3 years ago, Apple paid a Chinese technology company 64 million US for the word iPad in China, because a company there had trademark iPad before Apple actually got to China to trademark it. So in China, it's first to file a trademark, not first to use the trademark. So in every other country, if you're first to use it, you still have common law rights. But in China, that is not the case. I think a couple of years ago, there were complaints that Chinese students that were, let's say, coming to Australia was like going back to China and trademarking Tasmanian brands, even though they weren't producing products from Tasmania. So, you know, producers or manufacturers from around the world, if you care about wanting to go to China, you must trademark your brand even if you're not there yet, because it's first to file in China, not first to use.
Super. Okay, so there is a comment from Marco. How can you educate your future trademarking and other services in rural and tourist market?
So can you repeat that, Ajit?
Sure. How can you educate your future trademarking and other services in rural and tourist market?
Oh, in tourist markets?
Yep.
Well, I think in the tourism industry, a lot of people use their locations. So what I suggest you do is maybe, I'll try to give it, let's say you're, let's say a London tour guide company. What you might want to do is give it a unique name and then use the descriptor of what you do as a secondary part of your brand. So you could be, I don't know, Blue Stars London bus tours, okay? So Blue Stars is unique, but London bus tours is the descriptor. So that's how you would avoid, I guess, creating a brand that's descriptive, by making the main brand unique and having descriptors in your logo or in the way you promote the brand. So I never advise it's okay to use descriptive location names because you are in the tourist industry, but maybe use them as secondary descriptors to your main brand. And that's the way you would protect it. And you would want to be like that, because imagine how many bus tour companies would there be in London? There would be plenty, and you don't want to get your brand mixed up with the other 4 bus tour companies in London. So I think in, now you're really stretching my, my memory. I think in London, there's Trafalgar coach tours, and there is Kentucky, because I actually, when I was 18, I went on a Kentucky tour. So Kentucky is a classic example. That's the main brand, but they're a bus tour company that goes around Europe and London. And Trafalgar is also a brand. And you know, Trafalgar coach tours, so you can still obtain a descriptive trademark, as I explained. If you use it and you can prove that you create that brand. So Trafalgar bus tours or coach tours would have spent a lot of money promoting the brand, and therefore when they applied for it, they would have had to submit evidence of use, and they would have obtained the trademark, but it's a weaker trademark. So to answer your question, Marco, always put maybe a much more unique brand in front of the descriptive brands if you're in the business of tourism services.
Hi, Ben. I have a question.
Hi, Farah.
Really great presentation and very interesting examples given. Fun and entertaining as well.
Thank you.
Can you share with us, there's the governing bodies to register IPs like WIPO, USPTO, and in Malaysia we have MyIPO.
That's right.
What are the processes involved? How long does it take to actually really secure the IP? Usually when we register, it's patent pending for maybe a few years, and then
Oh yes.
yeah. Can you elaborate on that? And
Okay. Each country is different. So in Australia, it's about 8 months. If nothing goes wrong, there's always adverse reports when there's an issue. So if a application goes through without no problem, it's about 8 months. And when there's a problem, it's normally up to 1 or 2 years, depending on how quickly you get back to the examiner. In the States, our experience is that it's about 12 to 18 months in the United States. In Malaysia, I think it was 2 to 3 years from memories with some of that. Vietnam, so each country is actually very different. So there's not actually a standard. And normally I use WIPO just to do just a global check. But I only use that tool just to do a quick check, but I also use the local tools as well. So you can't just use one tool in isolation. And you've also got to know how you're searching as well. Because a lot of people, if you don't know what you're searching, let's say, let's use the example of Baxter IP, you know, our firm. If I did Baxter IP as one word, and then if I did Baxter IP in 2 words, and we've trademarked Baxter IP, but what if someone then want Baxter IP intellectual property, okay? So if you're not knowledgeable and you type in Baxter IP intellectual property, it's going to come back to say that you're able to trademark it. But in fact, you can't, because Baxter IP is the main word or the unique brand in that brand name. Intellectual property is just a descriptor. So if you're a novice and you try to trademark Baxter IP, like search for Baxter IP intellectual property, you would have a search result saying you can trademark it because there's no Baxter IP intellectual property. But that is incorrect, because Baxter IP actually has been trademarked, but as Baxter IP, not Baxter IP intellectual property. So the way you search is really important. And that's why in my tip 5 that I encourage that people have to, when they do a Google search, to search with other descriptive names, because you want to make sure that you're, you know, you're not infringing. Right now, part of my practice is that I help companies come up with trademarkable names. And it's really difficult, especially if they're wanting to launch a global brand that is trademarkable in the US, UK, New Zealand, because you've got to find that, it's almost like finding a needle in a haystack to make sure that that name is trademarkable in all those countries. And you need to know how to do research. And a lot of the time, my clients would say, oh, that's trademarkable. And I go, no, it's not. Because when I done that search under clothing or fashion, it came back. But when they did this search, they would do clothes or range or something, you know. So you've got to do a broad search. And the trademark search, I do 5 trademark searches, not just one. So you do have to know how to search to ensure that that brand that you want is available. So
Thank you, Doctor. Thank you, Mr. B.
No problem, Farah.
Marco, you want to come online, I guess. Yeah.
Hello, Marco.
Hi, Ben. Hi, Ben. How you going?
Good, thank you.
I just want to congratulate you on your presentation. I mentioned that on the chat line. You're a lady of a good friend of mine, and a lady that's you know, done so well in your career. So I just want to mention that your expertise.
Thank you for inviting me.
Pleasure. Dev's in a meeting at the moment, but look where I am at Oatley Pub, Oatley Hotel in Sydney. You probably know the venue. Yes. So it's quite a nice place. But good. Just yeah, so well done, and we'll have a chat later. Look, Ben's done a lot of trademarking for various brands that we have in Australia and our business partners, and they've been not only impressed, it's been fault proof. So thanks a lot, Ben, and we'll talk soon. Thanks, Ajit.
All I ask my clients is to listen, because if I say no to a trademark, it means no. Because sometimes I can't push a trademark through because I know that the examiner will not approve it. So I would rather tell you no than to have you not only lose money, but lose time as well. Because as Farah had asked, it takes a long time to get a trademark. So I might as well be honest with my clients at the beginning whether that mark is going to be able to be trademarked or not. And it's only based on my experience, not because I'm superior in my intellect or anything.
Okay, so there is a question for you from social media, Bin.
Yes.
We are a startup and we don't know how to go for trademark registration, but the only option that you are sharing is going for a legal service. We have been using our brand and logo for last 4.5 years. And of course, as a legal entity, whatever small and big we have done so far, we have used it in multiple various medium, including the newspaper. So of course, we have our logo, which is printed in the newspaper, circulated across the country. Do you feel there might be some issues in near future if we don't try to register it now?
Well, it depends on what the mark is. If they've got use of the, sorry, which country is this question coming from?
India.
Oh, India. I think India has common law rights where you can be the first to use it. I would suggest that they try to trademark it, and if they have trouble trademarking it, he has to look at the facts. If there's an existing trademark in India that's registered, they have to see when it was trademarked, and did his company or his logo start before that registration of that trademark. And if they did start before that registration of that trademark, then he has the ability to apply for the trademark for prior use. If he started after that registration of that trademark, he may be able to apply and provide evidence for honest concurrent use. But again, unless we know what the circumstance is, but there are avenues for people that have already got existing businesses that started without checking first. If you've been in the marketplace successfully selling and you've got a profile, you would have a chance to be able to obtain your trademark by providing evidence of use.
Okay, so we can see Dr. Hazel is back and she is willing to ask you some other question. Hazel, over to you.
Amazing presentation. I was just blown away, and I have another question. Okay, so I equip and empower women to become economically independent and self-sufficient in Africa. We run business workshops. What advice can you give them for those that are starting new businesses and they've got fantastic ideas? What advice can you give them?
They should, like I said, spend time researching the name and not rely on because a lot of, I guess, people, when they think of a brand name or when they're starting at the business, they're always thinking about what do I want to call it? But that's not where you should start. You should start with brainstorming with a group of people, whether it's them brainstorming with themselves or with a group of trusted advisors, and maybe have a choice of 10 names that they come up with, and then do the research to see whether those names that they want to use is available to be used as a business name or for their business. Okay. Go through those tips I've given you. Don't call it a descriptive name, follow those tips. But at the beginning, my advice to them is to brainstorm and spend the time to find that unique name. And if their ambition is only to have that business in Africa, then they should only check the trademark register in Africa and not around the world. Because when I spoke about around the world or around in other countries, we get a lot of inquiries about launching e-commerce brands that are selling products around the world. So if they are planning to sell around the world, then they do have to search you know, to look for that brand elsewhere as well. And I'm more than happy, Dr. Hazel, to be part of your advisory team just to help out these ladies if you need some guidance initially so that you guys can have a brainstorming methodology going, just so I can help with that. And then you guys can then take it from there and devise your own methodology to find that unique name, because it's very hard to start up a business from scratch, but it's so heartbreaking when you've created that brand and that reputation behind that brand, and then you're told you can't use that name anymore, and then you lose all that reputation of that brand. So that's what I would suggest, that if your group of women are wanting to start a business, is really just to spend the time brainstorming, researching the brand name that they want to use. And of course, there will be other advisors to see whether economically that the project is going to be, you know, to be able to be launched and be successful going forward. But the brand name is important at the beginning, because that's almost like the seed. You know, I tell my clients, it doesn't matter what the name is. It's when you start something and you start building a reputation behind that brand then becomes valuable. Okay, so it's just planting that seed and making sure that name of that seed is yours to begin with. And if you're first to use it, and I can't actually, I'll have to research and come back to you, Dr. Hazel. I'm not quite sure what the laws are in Africa, whether it's first to use or first to file, but my gut feel is it's first to use. So if your members are the first to use that brand name and they've done the research at the beginning, then they should be safe to be able to use that brand, even if they don't have the money at the beginning to obtain legal counsel or advice about you know, trademarking. Okay.
Awesome, awesome. We'll definitely be in touch. And that's for Southern Africa for when you get back to me, because we'd really love for you to get involved in.
Sure, I'm more than happy to do some, to be involved. So let's hook up, you know, let's connect on LinkedIn.
Awesome, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Okay, so I've got a question from Ankit over here in the chat box, although there are a couple of questions more in the social media, but yes, we'll be more than happy to, you know, take those if time permits. Sure. Ankit is asking, if a startup is holding domains, but the company is not trademarked, what's the way out?
If someone's owning your trade, if someone owns
the domain, I mean the domain name, probably the website URL name, but the company is not trademarked. So what is the way out in that case?
Way out for who? Is it, so let's say you're the company and someone's taking your domain name, or you've taken somebody else's domain.
Yes, yes, that's the question probably.
Okay, that's good. Well, domains and trademarks are very different. So they've got two different tribunals. I know in WIPO has a domain dispute tribunal in set up. So when there's a domain dispute, you can actually complain that someone has obtained a domain name under bad faith. Okay. With a trademark, we can revoke a trademark if someone's not using it in the countries where the laws allow you to revoke the trademark. As I said, China and Japan doesn't have that law, but in most other countries, if someone's not using the trademark, we can revoke that trademark. So I think what I'm trying to say is that domains and trademarks are two separate matters. There's no relationship.
Okay, super answer. Let me tell you something, Ben. Honestly speaking, in World Leaders Summit, although the name is Summit, but we are thinking to create a League of Justice. And to be very honest, if you have seen the DC Comics series like Justice League and probably Marvel series like League of, you know, they are superheroes, Avengers and all. We actually have a great team of superheroes who are actually a part of these, you know, exciting movement that's happening globally. And I can truly say that, yes, proudly we are global, and proudly we are getting questions, proudly we are getting people who are supporting the cause. And we have interesting name for our heroes who are female, and we have more female than male in the team, and we call them as sheroes. What is your comment about these term sheroes? It's just a term.
How do you spell it?
Sheroes, Shereor, heroes plus she, so sheroes.
Oh, sheroes. Okay.
Yeah. What's your comment on that term, like the word sheroes?
I would have to do a trademark check. I think saying it should be fine. Like, yeah, I think it should be fine, but I have to do a trademark check. But Marvel has in the past been active in suing people using superhero stuff. So just be warned. In New Zealand, they actually sued a tire manufacturer that looked like Superman, I think, and they couldn't stop him, the concept itself, but they actually made him change the visual of
So we are not talking about visuals. I know that. We are not talking at all about the visuals. We are talking about the word we're using. That's not being used. That's not used by any business means. Neither we are using it anywhere in our writing. It's just an internal term. We call ourselves heroes and sheroes.
It could be trademarkable. I mean, just from you saying it, it could be. But again, it's got to be checked. And when I say it's got to be checked, I've got to check whether Marvel has sued other people with variations of heroes. Okay, so it's not a simple answer. It's not phonetically saying yes or no. It's actually checking. So I often get people wanting to, have Apple in their name or something. So I can't immediately say that they're going to get sued by Apple. I've got to actually check where Apple has sued other people. I did a check yesterday, a couple of months ago, and Apple actually did sue someone that called themselves Apple Pie technical support or something, which I was quite amazed on, because Apple Pie is very different to Apple computers. But because they were in the technical support area, I think Apple Pie, well, two things, probably didn't think that name was appropriate to be associated with, I guess, their brand. So yeah, it's I can't say right now whether it's trademarkable or not. It's something that we might have to take it offline and have me look at.
Super. The reason I asked you this question, because it's so complicated and so complex to check whether the name is available for trademark or not. And that's the reason I'm asking you this question, so that you can tell the audience how complicated it is. It's not simple.
It's not simple.
It's just out of the blue, you take a name, and it's not simple. Well, we are getting a lot of other questions, but I think we'll probably, okay, so I'll take only one more question, which is how important is it to trademark a company with local market with no global exposure?
Can you repeat that again? Sorry.
How important is it to trademark a company with local market, no global exposure?
With no global exposure?
Yeah.
Okay. Again, that's a very generic question. A local mark is easier to trademark than a word mark. And each mark is assessed individually. So that question's too broad for me to really answer, because of course you can trademark a logo that doesn't have any exposure, but it depends on which country you want to apply for, which industry, so it's so I welcome that person to contact me directly if they want me to answer a specific question for them.
Okay, super. Well, thank you, Bin, for all the answers and all the insights that you have shared. And of course, we are getting a lot of insights from other people. Great that you're sharing it to
Yeah, I just wanted to
audience.
share the apple versus pear blog I just wrote.
Super, super, super. We'll be more than happy to create a knowledge bank for all the audience so that they can come back and see things. In fact, we have some interesting concepts going on inside the team that probably we can do a lot more with our present speakers and maybe engage them with potential clients and audience. With this note, thank you so much, Bin. You have been a darling and sharing a lot of insights. Thank you so much. Please stay with us because we'll be getting a lot of
Yes, I
questions.
will.
And yes, I'll now introduce another person. Pranay, if you're there, could you please turn on your mic and camera? Pranay, are you there? I can see that you logged in. Pranay.
Hey, Arijit.
Hey, Pranay. Could you please turn on your camera so that we can see you?
While you introduce, I'm also trying to log through another system. So,
okay, no worries, no worries. No worries, we'll give time to you. Well, yes. So let me introduce someone whom I know for a long time, when he started India's first co-working place called 91 Springboard. A superhuman being, although we have been talking about superheroes and all, but he is a superhuman being. An entrepreneur, an incubation guy, an early stage startup supporter, I would say an investor. He co-founded 91 Springboard, and an IMA alumni, an investor in multiple number of startups on behalf of CIIE, IMA, and 91 Springboard. Ladies and gentlemen, it's my pleasure to welcome Pranay Gupta from India.
thanks a lot, Arijit. You're always very generous with your praise. Thank you. I hope by the end of the call, I'm able to live through that praise, man. And amazing to be here. Amazing to be amongst the kind of audience which is there. So thank you. Without a bit ado, Arijit, I'd like to just share my screen and get started.
Sure.
Sorry for this. Do you have to give me certain right on this? It's
no, you already got the permission. You are in the panel, so you would be able to.
Arijit, probably because I logged in with the second login.
Give me a sec. Let me see. Okay, I'm making you co-host. Not a problem. You would be able to share everything. Did you see the share screen button now?
I'm trying to figure it out. Sorry, people, for this. I'm a bit.
You'd be able to see there is a small bar in your Zoom. If you just look at the bottom, it says participants, Q&A, poll, chat, share screen.
Yes, I found it. Yeah. Sorry, I was using that minimize Zoom. Great. I think that solves for the technology handicap. Let's get started. So the topic we chose, and honestly, a lot of this is I thought I'll lay the ground and we can do discussion in the question answer, is the whole thought on, I believe, why the current startup funding methods are broken. To give you a bit of a background for myself, a lot of my learning in last about 12 odd years has been running different kind of incubation. First, I was heading the incubator at the top institute in India called IM Ahmedabad, where I invested in almost 40 odd startups. And then I was an entrepreneur where I was running 91 Springboard. We are a co-working space company, one of the first in India, were able to scale up massively. But while doing that, we adopted the elements of being an incubator ourselves, and we've also supported and funded almost 30 odd startups. So in all, I have been on cap tables of about 70 startups. And with that, thinking startup funding methods are broken is a bit complicated because I've been funding startups on that. So I like to sort of first run you through, like, currently, if we think startup funding and VC model comes to our mind, I just want to run you through a question for the audience, right? A very simple question, and I love it if you can, in your chat or through your ability to give some hands up, if you can say, I am a startup, and what do you think? Am I VC investable, right? I need not a lot. I don't need millions. I'm a very efficient business. I'll need only $100,000 to start. And interestingly, it's a very decent margin business. By third year, I'll be bringing in profits of about $100,000 each, right? And if you're giving me the $100,000, I can give you 30%, which means from third year you'll get about 30 odd $1,000 every year as a profit share, which is effectively 30% return on your equity forever. Do you think that I am a VC investable company? Do you think a VC will invest in my company? What do you think?
I think it will be difficult.
Okay. So the maths is very good, right? Like, if honestly someone was giving me 30% returns on my personal money, it would be very awesome. But it is difficult. And let's understand why, right? Why would such an awesome deal a VC will not still take? The reason is VCs invest in companies which can hyperscale, right? Which can grow very big, which can be massive. And the fundamentals behind it, and let's understand maths for how their model works, is what's called a 220 model. What is 220? Well, 2% is the fee that a VC fund charges. For those of you who've not been part of a VC fund, I'm sure you would have invested in a mutual fund. VC fund is very similar, right? It's like a mutual fund where a lot of rich people are giving money and there's someone managing that fund. So if I am a VC, I get money from these rich people. It's not my own money, right? I get money from rich people and I invest that money into startups. And how do I earn money? For whatever money I'm managing, say if it's $1 million, I get a 2% annual fee to manage that money. And I get a 20% carry. Now, what does carry mean? So carry is the share in profit. Basically, to my investors who are giving me money to invest, what I'm saying is that I won't make much money on while I'm investing. That's just 2% fee. It allows me to run the show. But basically, see, I'm so confident that I'll give you high returns that when the returns come, I'll take 20% fee from that. And now let's look at how does that lead to the maths, right? So what VC says, and let's take a fictitious fund. It's a 10 million fund, which is investing $1 million each in 10 startups. Now the disclaimers, everyone, is that I have oversimplified it and not gone through very deep nitty-gritties. But in this simplistic model, let's take a 10 million fund, which is investing $1 million each in different startups. Now, we all know, we've all heard how startup investment is risky. Not all entrepreneurs become successful. And that's where the way a VC calculates their probabilities and output is where they say, of the 10 investments I do, 5 will go to 0, right? They'll give you a 0x return. And which means the returns I'll get from it will be literally 0. Again, when I say 0, I'm not saying the interest I'll get is 0. I'm saying whatever money I gave the startup has gone to dogs, right? It's gone to 0. Then another 3 will give me an average of, say, 2x return. And people, this is over a period of 7 to 8 years. It's a risky investment. So 2x is not great, right? Like, if you think of it, in a country like India, if you're investing in stock market, 2x over a period of 8 years is quite possible. And that's a liquid money. You can buy a share today and trade it tomorrow. Whereas startup is a money where I'm putting in money and I don't know when I'll be able to sell. So 3 will just about give me my principal back. And if I do the maths at 2x, it will give me about 6 million. One of the startup will do probably better. It will give me 5x return. And from that one, I'll get about 5 million. But the holy grail is that this one startup will be a super hit startup. It will give me 20 times what I've invested. And of my 1 million, I'll get 20 million back. I'm not sure if you've been following Airbnb IPO. Y Combinator made something of the order of 2,000 times their investment, right? So, well, that's one-off and that's awesome. But typically, investors are investing like this. This total, you'll now notice, adds up to 31 million. And now for 10 million that they invested, they're saying that we'll return of the order of, say, 30 million. Everyone is hoping that they'll get that Airbnb in their portfolio. And instead of this 31 million, it will be 3 billion. And that's why the rich investors are giving me money to invest as a VC fund instead of simply putting it in an index fund or a mutual fund sorts of places. So that's the part of money which they are gambling, where it's higher risk and higher return. And then as a VC fund manager, my job is to take that higher risk for a potential very high return. And the investor who's investing in me expects that risk. They're saying, I don't expect you to invest in something which will give a sure shot 30%. I expect you to invest in something which will give a 20x return. What it also means is, in this simplistic fund, the fee we are talking of is about 200K a year. That's 2% of 10 million. And the carry, assuming these returns, is of the order of 4.2 million. Now, I like you to focus on this fee, right? 200K a year. For me to have a very smart team running around, meeting startups, managing startups, is a very little figure. This is why you'll see most of the VC funds are not 10 million funds the way I've showcased. More often than not, a VC fund will be at least 100 million sort of a fund, which means instead of that 1 million that I showed as investing in a company, they'll be investing probably 10 to 20 million. And now on that 10 to 20 million, if you have to make 20x return, I'm talking of my share in the company has to be roughly about 200 million when the company is getting sold. And then what that means is the company has to be something which can reach billions. Are you with me still?
Yep.
And do you see how the numbers really add up?
Yes.
This is why the startups, the example I gave is a great return, but it's not a VC fundable startup. The issue and why I say that model is broken is not because the VC funds don't work, but I feel that all startups having to be forced to go down the VC line doesn't make sense. But the issue is currently because the way the VC funds are structured and because the way they work, their way of thinking is infectious. What it means is, if I'm an angel investor investing in a startup, most of the term sheets you'll see are all designed for a similar return. They go in with a philosophy that you invest the money and you just hope for this mega return. And primarily because the only way the company will grow is it will raise more funds and more funds. And because next time when a VC comes, his model is that. So naturally, as an angel, I too will not select that example of startup I gave to you in the beginning, because what I will be thinking, and I've been trained into that, is if I am investing, then if a next round VC doesn't come, how do I get my returns? How do I sell my shares? So that's one big issue. The second big issue is Naturally, because of this, what people call as lifestyle business has become a negative term. What is a lifestyle business? The terminology came from the fact that it's a business which makes enough revenues, enough profits. The people running the business can afford a great lifestyle, but it's not the hyperscale business which can give VC returns. And it's amazing where from a great terminology of having, so normally I would have called it, it's a great business with good profits, right? But people have started using the term, it's a lifestyle business almost in a negative way. And then the third is, because of the way this works now, funding has become a measure of success. And I think these, I have nothing against VC funds. I'll later also talk about how I am one of those angels who, when looks at the right startups, is thinking through hyperscale and which VC will invest in it, etc. But what I feel is this element of every startup being forced that line is again broken. Let's look at what are the alternatives which exist. Fundamentally, the first we all know is a debt. The way debt works is basically and again I'm talking more from India and developing markets. In developed markets, debts are evolved a lot more. Financial structures are evolved a lot more. But in India, debt is equal to collateral. What that means is you have a land of worth 1 million. A bank will come and give you 800K against that. They'll keep the land as collateral so that in case you default, they can sell it and get their money back. And plus, they'll charge you a 12% interest. Alternately, what they'll do is they'll give you debt for working capital or machine, which means if you're thinking of buying something for 1 million, and as a bank, I can take it and sell it in case you don't give me money back, I will give you a debt of about 800K and I'll charge you interest. The difference is, in some sense, because it's a collateral, honestly, it is something like I own it. Now, again, like in VC fund, it has its merits and it works for certain people. Similarly, debt works for a certain people, but you'll notice that the cost is pretty heavy. In some sense, like if you think of machine, basically what you are, in other words, saying is, bank, you buy the machine, you give it to me, and I am actually putting up some 200K to buy it for you. So it's that sort of a structure in some sense, and I'll keep taking the machine back from you piece by piece. There is something which has come up, which is called venture debt. I'm not sure how many of you have come across it, but this is people who came in who said banks are too risk averse. They think of only collateral while giving money. We do venture debt. We take the risk. And what they do is, without saying it explicitly, they do equity fund as a collateral. So if you're a startup which is raising an equity investment of about, say, 10 million, what they'll come and say, while you're raising money, we will come and we'll give you 2 million. And by the way, because it's high risk, you have to give me 18% interest. To banks, you were giving a collateral and it was 12% interest. So to me, it's high risk, it's 18% interest. And by the way, you have to pay me back my money before you run out of the equity investment you've raised. And to me, that's the fundamental play, right? That where if I have someone who's given me equity money, which is sitting in my bank account, and in my bank account, it's not earning me enough interest, but on the other side, I'm raising money, using that first and giving that back first and paying 18% interest on that. Amazingly, many of these venture debt funds, they say that because it's risky, we'll also take some rights. We will take some rights to invest in your company in later round at a discount that I've got. Honestly, I feel this one, again, works for some people, but for a lot, it's really more of a vulture debt. A new model which has come up, which I enjoy a lot more, is called revenue-based financing. In India, very recently, when I say recently, I mean literally like it's less than 6 month phenomena on the at least the mid-stage startup space, where the way it works is if you're a high margin business, imagine you're a business which is earning more than 50% gross margins. An investor will come and say, I will give you about 100K to use the funds to grow your direct revenues. So please don't use that money in R&D. Use it the way you would use say a bank funding, where you grow your direct revenues. And now because you make 50% on it in some sense, right? Like, so let me simplify it. Imagine I'm a trader. I buy wheat from one place and I sell it at another place for 50% higher. Again, this doesn't work. Just imagine. I had my own money only of the order of 1 million. Now, if someone else gave me 1 million, I could get 1 million more of worth of wheat and sell it for 50% higher. So then for me to pay a 15% interest just makes sense. It's arbitrage that I'm playing at. And also the way they have the revenue-based financing people have created a lesser pressure on fixed payments and allowed entrepreneurs to be comfortable with paying money is where they've said, you can give me back the money in form of revenue share. It's not profit share. It's not at the profits at the end of it, because what are the expenses of the company can be debated, but it's revenue share. And again, with a 50% gross margin business, a 10% revenue share could make a lot of sense. This is a new structure which has come up. Some early deals happening. I'm honestly very excited about this, and I think we'll get to see how this evolves. It's the problem with this is it doesn't work for non-working capital kind of expenses. So any expense that you're doing which doesn't go into direct revenue growth, it's a much higher risk for the entrepreneur to take this money and use it there. And the second, on the investor front, we shouldn't always think business, right? Any funding has to be a win-win. And in this case, on the investor front, this works for investors who are looking at a fixed coupon returns for themselves, but it doesn't work for investors who are looking to benefit from business growth. So it's not the equity returns kind of return. The final model, which I have studied a bit, is what I call the Marwari method of funding. Now, let me explain Marwaris to you a bit. I could go ahead and call them the Jews of India. I love to also tell you the story of how the whole clan comes. So they're the business group. They're known to be the people who are supposedly good with money and business. And very interestingly, within Marwadis, there's a clan called Agarwal. And the way Agarwals started was there was this king in India who, for various of his beliefs reason, had to vacate his lands, and he went around establishing a new capital. And all his followers went with him. In this new capital called Agroha, they set up a system where whenever a new person came to this capital, everyone else living in the city would give him a brick, and they would give him or her a coin, a single 1 rupee coin. And the whole thought was that for a new person coming and settling into the city, they can use the brick to make their house, and they can use that money to start a new business. And that's how this clan became a very business focused kind of a clan. I'm a Marwari, and thankfully you got exposed to a lot of extended family who were doing different type of funding. And it was always very interesting where they would come to me and they'll ask, hey, you're doing startup funding. How does that work? How does VC funding work? And I'll tell them all of this. And on the other side, whenever I heard them doing different kind of investments or doing these partnerships to raise money for their businesses, I always found it very amusing. The way that works is the investor rarely thinks of themselves as a business partner. right? They don't think of themselves as I'm giving you money, but it's your business. They think it's our business. Uh, the person running the business is typically called an operating partner, and they get certain amount of profits upfront. By upfront, what I mean is before the rest of the money is distributed, they get profits first, some portion of it, typically 20% in a few businesses I've seen. And then the remaining is split amongst the investors. The other part of the benefit here is pretty much like a VC. This is the space where the investor is helping the business actively. They think of it as their business. They get involved also. And there is rarely a conversation of exit. People are investing to be part of the business, and this is a lifetime thing. And it works too, right? Because, if there's a business which is working well and which is giving good returns, very rarely would an investor want to take out money from that, because if you take out the money, where do you put it back? You put it back in some other investment opportunity. And if there's a business which is doing good, why take out money from that? So that's the kind of mindset this investments happen with. Again, not to say that this is the best way and it works for every model. This is something which works great for lifestyle business. In hyperscale businesses which need continuous funding, which need massive funding, this model would not work easily. And finally, the two things which are true is this works a lot on basis of trust. And which is why more often than not, when you see this, it will work in the partners in this, the operating partner and investing partner will be people who know each other well. They are friends, or he's the guy running the business is son of this old school guy I know well, etc. kind of a model. And finally, because exits are not thought of and not planned, when breakups happen, they are painful. Unless a VC model where there's a pre-decided in 7 years we will sell if you don't give us exit, and you will have to sign, and this is how it will work. So, well, folks, these are the multiple methods of funding that I have seen. Not to say that this is something I've been researching for all my life. But at the same time, I feel there are many more models which exist. And I thought this is a great platform to initiate this discussion. To say that startup funding is not synonymous with venture capital. Venture capital is just one aspect. There are many more models. A lot of these models have to get created. Some which are there have to get propagated. We should create model term sheets and put it up. And I am excited about talking with folks on this call who are thinking of this, who have seen maybe other models which are similar across the globe or can solve some of these problems and that we can replicate. Arijit, with that, I'll take a pause. Sorry for this long monologue, but will love to hear the audience or answer any questions which might be there.
Thank you so much, Pranay, for this, interesting, exciting, and beautiful knowledge session. It was like accumulated from the horse's mouth, and of course, it's gathered. I mean, it shows that how experienced you are. Well, before we jump into the Q&A, I would love to take a picture of yours. Kindly, could you please look at the camera? Yeah, 1, 2, 3, go. Yeah. So Pranay is actually kind enough to come here and share his insights. He's practically doing a lot, and I know him in person. He has been doing phenomenal work for the last couple of decades now. So we have got a question from social media for you, Pranay. Someone is asking, and we know the country now. So a question from Spain. Could you please enlighten us about growth capital in private equity and how it works?
Well, private equity markets are much more evolved. Christian, again, I think I'm more of an early stage and mid-stage expert. typically private equities come in the company post growth stage. And broadly, the way it works, at least in India, is where private equity investors are looking at about a 25% and above that kind of returns. They too work at a certain scale, but they are much more comfortable with businesses not being hyperscale. They'll look at gross margins and they'll look at the potential to take it bigger. Private equity models are also evolved where uh, I'm sure you would have also seen movies which talk about how they'll pick up the business, break it up into pieces, and create value out of that. So yes, I think those are a few things. Again, a session on private equity is a 1-hour session in itself. So let me just leave it there.
Super. Marco, you want to ask some question?
Yeah, sorry, guys. I was just in a meeting with managing director in beautiful Sydney here, Australia. I didn't get the chance to listen to your presentation, so I apologise, Arjit. And yeah, so just enlighten me, Arjit, just a little bit regarding the particular type of areas that you just listened to. Sorry, like I said, I was in a business meeting. I just stepped off the business meeting. It's still going ahead. So, Arjit, could you just enlighten me just a little short summary?
Well, then in that case, probably we'll keep that question after the session is over, Marco. I thought you turned on your video. I thought you want to ask some question. It's okay.
Yeah, no, I just sort of say hello, just from Sydney, Australia. I didn't get the chance, like I said, to mention, but we'll be in correspondence definitely.
100%.
And yeah, it'd be great seeing you. Yeah, thank you.
Sure. Thank you. Okay.
Hey, Marco.
Yeah. So there's a question. Farah, you want to ask, or shall I go for the social media questions?
Yes, just for a short one. Mr. Pranay, thank you so much for sharing with us your insights. Very interesting, especially on the Marwari method of doing the valuations and all. Can you also share with us how you go about doing your valuation prior to getting into the companies? And out of those 70 startups, what are the basis of those that make the cut for you?
Sure. Thanks a lot, Farah, for the question. Valuation is always an art. There's no real maths to it, honestly, in early stage, and especially where we're trying to front run a VC in some sense, right? The hyperscale sort of startups. Typically, there are 2-3 methods that are used. First is what's called a discounted cash flow method, but that's something which is used to explain to government why you're valuing the company in a certain way. I will be honest on the screen, it's not what helps you decide how to value a company. Because at that early stage, typically I'm investing at early revenue, a lot of business model of the startup too will get defined as it goes. The second method is what's called a multiple method. That's somewhat more feasible, especially if the startup has started getting traction already and it's at a certain better scale of traction. I'll give you an example. So say if I am investing in a e-commerce company and I know that Sequoia invested in the e-commerce company which had X number of users and Y number of transactions. On the other side, Matrix, which is a great fund in India, is investing in a company which is again having certain number of users and certain traction. And I know the valuations at which they invested. Then if as angels, we are investing in a company which has certain number of users and certain traction, that gives us a sense of what range the valuation should be. The third and the model used the most is what's called heuristics, which is as investor and as an active investor, you are seeing about 100 to 500 deals a year. And you're talking to a lot of investor friends. You have a sense of this level entrepreneur with this level of progress have been typically raising funds in this range. So it's no different from you thinking through, if I'm buying a flat in New York, I know that broadly in the street, these are the kind of buildings which are there and they've been buying flats at this price. So roughly around that range, it will make sense. And heuristics is used the most for valuing the company. In my case, and flowing from there, the way I select a company is so the typical, and it's not just us, it's the way almost every investor looks. You look at market size, you look at the team. The team is the most important because uh, a lot of business, a lot of what will happen will get defined. And we look at the team. Uh, Invariably, for me, I'm going in a post product and early revenue mode. So I look at the traction and the quality of traction. By quality of traction, what I mean is, say, if it's a subscription sort of company, then how are customers sticking? Are they using the company regularly or not, etc. So the quality of traction and the kind of moat that the entrepreneurs have been able to create around the business. Uh, these are standard things that I would say almost each investor looks at. For me, I add three more elements to it. The first is uh, because I'm not a professional investor, I do it as a hobby. For me, this element of will I be able to help the entrepreneurs is very critical. And I think I look at that very importantly, which means deep biotech research startups where I don't understand, right? I'm not a biotech research fellow, so I won't choose them. But so I look at startups and I figure out whether I can help them or not. Second, I look at as an early stage investor, I syndicate rounds with my friends. So I put in a very small ticket, but more importantly, I run syndicates on AngelList, and I'm able to other investors who are my friends invest along. So with that amount of money, will the startup be able to reach a certain level or not? And that becomes very important because as investors, we aren't the ones who can keep funding startup as it grows. So our money should be able to take it to a level where a VC will be interested in the startup. Finally, what I look at is the kind of spaces it is in. So for example, is it an Indian company focused on global markets, or is it an Indian company focused on Indian markets? And then what are my thesis on how those markets will evolve? So these are the three things that I look at while deciding to.
Thank you, Mr. Gupta. Thank you.
Thank you, Pranay, for all the insights. And we'll move to our Marco. Could you please?
Yeah,
I'm
just
really
one.
sorry to interrupt you, my friend.
That's all right, mate. No.
Yeah. So like we have another speaker. He is not very well, so probably we'll take his insights, and then we'll move back to the Q&A session again. He will be with us for maybe 10-15 minutes. Thank you, Sumer, for joining us early this morning. He told me that he is really not well, but he said that, Arijit, if I deny now, it will be difficult for my life to, continue my life in India. So I'm blessed that you came. I'm blessed that you came. I'm not that bad guy. I'm not that devil. I'm not gonna kill you. No way. Well, ladies and gentlemen, let me welcome Sumer Walia, the director of Chitkara University Center for Entrepreneurship. He's an executive member of FICCI National Committee for Startup. I'm not going to read your profile, man. One-liner, a great human being, a big brother, a hustler, a change maker globally, who done massive work in and across the world. Pranay, I'll request you to please stay back with us. There are multiple questions for you, mate, and I'll ask all the audience to shoot their question in the comment box as well as in the message box. Thank you so much. Sumer, sir, the stage is yours.
Thank you very much, Arijit. First of all, greetings to everybody. Good morning to everybody from the state of Punjab. Right now we are going through some, really interesting stuff, but one of the most industrious, one of the most prominent manufacturing hubs of the country, the state of Punjab. So my regards and greetings to everybody, Marco, Ben and Farah. Pranay is a very wonderful inspiration for us in the country, I would say, and has been a part of many ecosystems, as he said, and we really look forward to, seek his knowledge when he, mentors startups, and he started very early in building the 91 Springboard, and has been very analytical, critical, and very passionate about what he has been doing. So it was great to see his presentation, and starting from that quiz question till the Marwari ways of funding. So, and the whole maths around it. I think that's very few people have such a passion to, explain in such an elaborative way and think so much deep for the country and its people and the young people. Well, that's what. Thank you, Arijit. It's an honor to be here and talk a little bit about the topic and whatever questions you have. Chitkara University has always been, aiming to lead the show and yet stay humble in building the entrepreneurial ecosystem in the region. And startups are no new to them. They started very early in 2009 and built their first startup try deal from a student, and how he scaled the companies, moved on to next company, selling the first company. So we just came in and added some sort of a fervor and different flavor to it, but it's a great team here at the management level and doing their very best.
Oh, yes. And you have been doing a lot of incubation support. And as per my memory goes, when Chitkara University started the incubation center, it started with a lot of love, a lot of passion. Yes. And the way you created the whole incubation center, it shows the creativity. And with the combination of logic and creativity, you actually created multiple startups who are doing amazing stuff. Could you please enlighten us with those few stories, probably, who actually incubated inside your incubation center and right now roaring in the world?
Well, they are definitely roaring in the world, in this part of the world, I would say, and hope they become a little more global. But my focus has been small businesses, to be honest, because they play a critical role in the economics of the country and the nation building. So I've been dealing more with the youth and students, professionals and students. So I will talk about that only. So, one of the interesting things that happened when I had my brush with entrepreneurship in a real sense was 2011. But in 2013, we hosted the Startup Weekend in Punjab at Chandigarh, which is the capital and the beautiful city in India. So we hosted Startup Weekend. It was a 3-day event, and we were, all out selling tickets and trying to see that there is diversity of participants coming into the fold. And the government was supporting us. At the Entrepreneur Development Center in Chandigarh, we hosted this event. We went into planning for 3 months, and we sold around 100 plus tickets, where we had around 40% professionals who are in jobs, and students, and students from engineering colleges. And we hosted the event. We had winners 1, 2, 3, but none of them built their companies. But the fourth person, who was not a winner, he called me and said, "I want to see you," and came to my office on a Monday, right day after the event. And they were students from third year, UIET, the University Engineering and Technology College from Punjab University. And they had their idea and how we could mentor them. And what we did was to connect them with the right kind of mentors. A good mentor does not say, okay, everything I can do, but he understands what this student or the idea requires, so he connects them. And my strength is networking, so I have been able to meet a lot of people, and through my passion. And so I thought, okay, this person would guide him here. Wherever I could, I did. And making the story short, the guys put up a company called Edurev, EDUREV, edurev.in. And that was in 2014. We could help them with a $10,000 sort of a fund, angel fund, which is quite a small one, but it was from angel investment company based out of Hong Kong. And with that money, they built the technology and the tech team. And moving forward, today they are one of the top edtech startups in the region, I would say. They are over 50 people, EduRev. That's how the journey started in 2013-14 through that event, and gave us impetus to do more and more and more and help and guide every youngster. Because entrepreneurship, many have said it, I also say, you can't just teach. It's very personality driven. It has to come into you that I want to fail, pass. I want to do. It's a journey of a doer. So from that time onwards, was able to listen to over 600, 700 business ideas, mentor around these students, and over 140, 50 startups have now formed as companies in the region in the last 5, 6 years. And at Chitkara, for last 4, 5 years, we have seen a lot of success. As I said, the first company was TriDeal. Then we had SchoolPad with around 100 employees, again, an education tech company, fourth year students. So a lot of alumni building companies, and over 100 companies are from alumni in Chitkara. So that's what something beautiful happened. And 2016, 14, I built the first incubation center, or you can say a co-working space. But the bigger work happened at Chitkara when we were able to build the Chitkara Innovation Incubation Center, a Government of India approved, DST approved, and Pranay is a part of DST, a key member at DST, Department of Science and Technology, Government of India. And then from 5 to 6 startups at that time in 2016, we were able to build around 55 startups in the span of 2, 3 years. Different diverse companies, services, product, manufacturing, small little components for a better world. That's how it happened. Then we built University Incubator in our campus. We built the second university. We've got 2 campuses, and we now have a fourth incubation center in the heart of Mohali, Punjab, next to Indian School of Business. So the whole journey has been, to look at small businesses, mentor young students, and as Arijit asked, interesting stories. There was this guy who had come to us, me and my team, and said, we don't want like to study, we want to do a chai business. And I said, everywhere it is chai, 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 the tea business. So what to do? So we had a lot of chai competitors coming in. And he said, no, sir, I want to make small clay pots and trade them and then give the Indian feel of the how, or in older times, people used to drink tea and get those nutrients. These days, it's become too cosmetic and all, and they lose the flavor of chai. And he was in his fourth year, and we rejected him once, twice. There's one good thing a mentor does is to reject, because that is how you check the passion of the person, whether he comes again back or not. But this guy, was like following us like anything. And he came and came, and then we thought, okay, this is the gentleman who will become an entrepreneur. That's how we could make out, because he was so passionate. And we told him, okay, if you want to have a structured mentoring program, get into our structured mentoring program, you got to go and work in a cafe, 1 or 2 cafes, learn how this business is. He did that in Delhi and all, and very hardworking boy. And the university was kind enough to give him a pilot run at the incubation center. He served tea and snacks to over 200 people daily, and started making money. Because entrepreneurship, you need to have clients, you need to have the customer, because otherwise there's no entrepreneurship. Because if you can't do sales, you should got to have a skill of selling a snow to an Eskimo. You need to have sales, and that also ethically. And this guy was like something amazing chap, and his partner Simran, both of them built Chai Nagari, and Arijit, I believe, was in India to experience that chai. I remember. And Chai Nagari then opened his second store in the university, made a lot of money there. Unfortunately, we're passing through this time. The humanity is suffering, and everybody's business suffered. And then he opened one in Delhi, Bangalore. He's got 9 centers in just two years, I would say 2.5 years. 9 outlets, like, outlets of, you have McDonald outlets, small outlets, takeaways. So he's got 9 takeaway outlets where you get Indian flavored, different flavors, types of tea with some vada pav and buns and all. So Chai Nagari is a great success. In fact, we are shooting these days success stories in a web series we are doing. We're releasing 6 episodes, 4 stories a episode. Once it is done, we'll share the link. And so he's in the first episode. Then we had another interesting story called Body Fitness. Now this Body Fitness guy came through our first accelerator program we started in 2019. We worked upon the final year students who were interested to get into entrepreneurship, and our job at the university remains that students don't take up a job. That's what our job is. We want them to be job creators. So we did this interview round, screening round. Out of 140 kids, we picked 22 kids from the final year, and they had a 6 credit, 6 months of our entrepreneurship course. That's the accelerator program we run on campus. And out of this 22, around 8 of them left. 14 were there. Out of 14, again, 2 left, whatever reasons. They thought it's going to be an easy run, but they had to go through stringent 3 months of a theory. You know, because you got to have a deeper understanding on at least the technicalities of business. And 12 kids, we were worried, only 12 kids. And then we found out that out of these 12, 7 companies are formed. So I would say July 2020, we were able to see 7 businesses coming out of these 4th year students. One of them was Body Fitness. What does this guy do? He has a small unit where he manufactures this cast iron body weights for weightlifting under his brand, Body Fit Nest. You know, and he keeps on updating every 10 days. And recently he was on a demo day pitch. He mentioned that he's done over, you know, $11,000, $12,000 of sales in the last 1 year. You see, that is what I mean when I say small businesses. Somebody who gets an ability to do it right. And then comes stage where Pranay is there, you know, and his team and his, investors, where we connect them with these, when we go and present these businesses, these talented people who are doers, whose personalities are right to do business, and then they get investments. So we act as a catalyst, you know, to connect them. And there are a couple of stories around it. So Body Fitness, Celebrate, Your Mali, they are into customized vertical gardening in different buildings and campuses. Well, that's what, you know, things are happening. 100 plus startups in the college. And then also interesting part is the university was kind enough to allow us to have a startup policy for faculty, because the growth mindset of the faculty is very critical. And a growth mindset savvy faculty would be able to identify the growth mindset savvy student. So there was a match and things went well. Now faculty has over 10, 15 companies, private limited companies with the students. So that culture was the focus, that ecosystem was the focus, and now it's going pretty good. It's pretty good.
Super exciting. And it shows the kind of change that you have made so far. You know, it's always good to be a catalyst. Always good to be a catalyst rather than, you know, making things happen for a small dot. And when you become a catalyst, you can actually connect all these dots. And we are blessed to have you among us in World Leader Summit, who is a real catalyst connecting all these dots. So we are open for Q&A. We have a couple of questions for all other panelists as well, but I'll ask the audience to ask a question to Mr. Sumer first. So if you have any question, please unmute yourself if any panelists want to ask question. Yeah, Marco, over to you.
Yeah, just the first question I just wanted to address from our previous speaker, Pranay. Just a comment to start with, and then I'll address the question to Mr. Summer. When he mentioned that obviously assisting or helping an entrepreneur, what we define that in Australia is adding value, which is so important because, as you know, Mr. Summer, your success and what you've done in the past and what you're currently doing and your vision for the future in what you mentioned, not only India but globally, and we'll have this discussion off air. It sounds exciting because I'm a very astute. Well, when I say astute, I say that in a humble sense. That I love what I do, and I enjoy helping. And in saying that, adding value to entrepreneurs that need direction, and they need real support, because what happens, they get lost in their journey, as you mentioned, and they need some guidance. So the question to yourself is, in Australia, we're now in a lot of countries around the world are looking at startups. Now they're building these hubs around Sydney and all different states in Australia, which is very exciting for myself and my colleagues in our business. However, the way it's occurring, I found it's occurring in a fast way, and it can be a little bit showing an entrepreneur or small business person that anything's possible. So what I'm saying is they show all the positive elements, but they don't necessarily highlight certain areas that could be in what we classify as failures. And if you know Michael Jordan, and I can send this to all of you, in order for him to be where he was in the past, he obviously missed thousands of shots, lost hundreds of games, and wasn't MVP, wasn't successful with any clubs until he got to a stage where this level, and he still failed, you know, even though he was Michael Jordan. So what I'm saying is, the question to yourself, Mr. Summer, in summary is, how do you assist startup business youth of today, because they're on the cusp of being young adults, to rein in that excitement, but also allow them to be motivated, so they feel that you know, there is hope in their idea and concepts they want to passionately deliver to the world.
Well, thank you, Marco. That's a very, very beautiful and unique question. And I think there has to be a fine balance in terms of the value addition in a entrepreneur's life. What we do a holistic development, because we also learn through our journey. We're dealing with numbers. The university has over 15,000 students, you know, and even if 2% come to become entrepreneurs, that's quite a number we need to handle. So there are a lot of programs which we do on the aesthetics part of business, on the ethics part of business, and we don't stop the dialogue. Like, for example, we will get 5 out of 10 cases where students would say, we want to become an entrepreneur, but our parents don't want. Our teachers don't want. Right? They don't feel encouraged. Now, here is a person which is demotivated and fits into your question. This is where our job starts. We meet the person, we invite, we talk, we go out for golf in small groups, we talk to them, understand the personality, and then probably when the time is, we meet the parents. I'm talking about students. We meet the parents because students are at the cusp of getting into adults, as what you said. We talk to them, and then we talk to the parents, say, okay, allow the gentleman to at least attempt it for a year or two while in college, or maybe a year after college. He can sit in placements after a year. Because if we do something in discretion, you know, not telling the parents and the student wants to do, then it's a mismatch. Today or tomorrow is going to, you know, collide, or it's not going to work well. So we just see that these sessions are up. We have inspirational stories coming and addressing these students, and we continue the dialogue. So we are a good team. Even if sometimes one of the team members ignores that, okay, no, this guy is not good, we don't just outrightly reject. We just see that the other team member can meet this kid, because what will be his or her perspective about that person. It's better to understand understand what the mental makeup is and how you can fine tune that mental makeup. If the kid is good in job, then has to go for a job, and it is up to them they want to do it or not. But I think exposure of these students to certain beautiful events in the country, India is doing very well in the startup scene. Going and meeting some big people at the age of 18, you're going and meeting Uber CEO and shaking hands with the Apple CEO at T Hub Hyderabad or so, is something very exciting. When they see there is a bigger motivation and inspiration in front of them, they feel that, okay, we can also do it. But there is one thing which is very important, is the ethics. We keep on telling them there are no shortcuts. You know, you have to go the path of ethics, because that's how great men and women are made of, who have been ethical, hardworking, honest, and innovative and creative. So that those things are in terms of collateral of values, which comes into a person. It is receptivity. Some would take it, some would find it to be too much a lecture. But those who take it are good receivers and good listeners, get it right, because that's how the fine balance comes. Well, I hope that answers your question.
Super.
No, definitely. Thanks very much. That's brilliant.
Thank you.
Okay, so we have got a couple of more questions, but I'll take a few from here in Zoom. Ankit is asking, how do you scout entrepreneurs at Chitkara University? Do you have any dedicated entrepreneur programs for your students?
Okay, we work on 2 tracks. One track is a regular calendar of entrepreneurial events. You know, ideathons, hackathons, sector specific. Let's someday there is an event which is on energy, solar, wind. Because you have to look into the problem pool. We have a problem pool. Those kids who don't have ideas, we open them the problem pool. They can pick up the sectors. For example, 2030 UN Development Goals are 17 UN Development Goals, 2030. So these goals align with globally. So we can say, okay, these are the 17 areas where you would like to come in, pick up anything you feel you can do. So we have events going on. That's one track. And the second one is a focus track. And that's the accelerator program. Right now we're in batch 2. It is their last month. It's a credit-based course, which students formally adopt. The deans from the engineering school, the business school, open this program to the students. So the fourth year students pick up, apply, and then we through our committee select these kids. Those who could not be selected are still there. They are free to walk into our incubation center, have a cup of coffee, sit down, deliberate on ideas, chat, network, attend the events. But the program is very focused. So you have around 300 hours of coaching. And after that, you have the demo days, and then you have, and finally making an investor readiness report, even though you are not seeking investment, but the knowledge of how investor readiness IRR is done. How would you fare in front of an investor? What is the mock session or simulation like? Those things we prepare them. So that accelerator program, now we're going to launch the third one in April 2021. That has given us a lot of strength that it's better to coach a very selected, passionate few kids and then look into the entrepreneurial journeys because their parents are with them. Most of them are coming from family businesses, and North India and Punjab is a very much family business hub where entrepreneurship is deep down the drain. Is like in the DNA, I would say. That would be a right word. And in Punjabi they say, and I won't mind saying, if those who get it, maybe they say that Punjabiyan nu khade hon di thaan chahiਦੀ hai, beh appe jande hain. Means that they are so innovative, they find their way. You just give them a chance. Anyway.
Yeah. So the next question comes from Dr. Neeraj Kumar. Do you think universities should have incubation center all around the world? Will that make a difference?
University all around the world will make them universities. Well, frankly speaking, Dr. Neeraj, it is very important to see how much you can bite, chew, and digest at the same time. It's about your bandwidth. I believe that a university having an incubation center within the campus is more important rather than having it globally first. And once you have the bandwidth and you can manage, then the point is collaborations are very, very good. As in our case, we have one partner, I would name Western Sydney University. They have a program called Launchpad Incubator in Sydney, WSU. So we work on terms of knowledge sharing, collaborative pitching, demo days, and all that stuff, interactions with startups. So if you are a good incubator, you can probably write to another incubator in Harvard, in MIT, in IIT Kharagpur, IIT Mumbai. So as our university, we have a lot of collaborations of our e-cells. We have a very strong entrepreneurship cell where a proper team of students run their cell in proper hierarchy. They have their own funds, they have their own budget, own accounts, and then they collaborate with the IIT Kharagpur, and we will someday see a poster and say, okay, they're doing an event with them, on let's say essentials of entrepreneurship or whatever, pitch day, demo day, whatever. So definitely, I think first is the university should have its own incubator in this campus. I strongly recommend that. And Chitkara is very much has been instrumental in helping a couple of other colleges and universities in the region to build those incubators. I think we believe in collaboration, and we believe in a integrated ecosystem because otherwise you won't be able to do it alone.
Super. Okay, so let me tell the world that who Marco is or who Dev is because it's required, I guess, now. So Marco, me and Dev, we are partners. So we have two companies running in Sydney, Australia. One is an investment banking company. So I'm one of the director. I'm blessed that they took a crazy guy like me to become a part of the journey. We have been running it for quite a long time, and Supreme Corp is a technology company which is basically running roaring. And when we have been discussing with India's one of the largest payment gateway company to take them abroad and give opportunity to work with a couple of Australian ecosystem players, we found what are the challenges, we found what are the things that's going on. I can go on with stories. While working with Indian government as a jury member in Startup Award Committee, I found that there are things happening, there are hustles, there are happenings, which is probably unheard to the world. And I thought that it's a good idea to have the real change makers from India to be in this panel. And Sumer blessed us to actually come and share all his insights, share all his knowledge, and the beautiful ecosystem that they have created. We're really happy, Sumer, to have you among us, blessed and honored. We are happy that Pranay, you joined and you shared all the insights. We have questions for Pranay, we have questions for Sumer, but because he is, I can see that Sumer is like getting a lot of questions. So Sumer, if you feel that you want to take these questions later on, we can do it later on. We'll have the session again. Not a problem on that. Yeah.
Surely I can host another session one-to-one for the questions anytime you want. And it's an honor to be in this week-long effort and how you have got this all together, put this all together. It is so interesting to see that, you are a real entrepreneur and what your way you have worked hard, ever since I would say last year to conceptualize and bring this all together and build a very global knowledge pool. So it's the blessings. I can't do any blessings, I need blessings from the Almighty always. So don't say that. So blessings for the Lord and His will that we are all here together, and hope it continues to shower. And more blessings are needed by the world people who are suffering, protesting, agitating, or whatever, who are just finding it tough to meet their ends meet. They need more blessings, and anyway we could help. So thank you very much. It's an honor to see everybody. Thank you.
Thank you so much. For your information, before you go, let me share you a few of the people who are there in the panel as well as in the audience. So we have Bin from Australia, Marco from Australia, Farah from Malaysia, Faiza from Nepal, Pranay from India, and in the audience I can see Egypt, Vietnam, China, Russia, Turkey, Lebanon. Please forgive me if I'm missing anyone. From the social media, we got the whole Africa. I'm not joking at all. We are getting all the text, all the message from Africa. Bless you, Africa. Thank you for all the questions. And yes, we are getting people now at this hour from Canada. It's late at night over there. Okay, thank you so much. Thank you for all the questions. But Sumer ji will be back again soon with us. World Leader Summit is not only a year summit, it's gonna be continuous process, continuous incubation, full-fledged market connect, and business growth, hand-holding with each other. With this note, thank you, Sumer ji. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. So this is the time we should welcome our young, beautiful Faiza from Nepal. How are you doing, Faiza?
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Ajit Dada. I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. So let me tell you who Faiza is and why she is here and what exactly she is doing. If you don't know her, check her out in social media. Faiza Perveen is a founder at Open Space Network. She's a co-founder at Talent Curators. She's a woman lead in GBG Kathmandu, country director of Nepal at 62nd Intel Film Festival. I can go on with this profile. How long will it take? My God, it's gonna take a day. So let me skip this. Let me skip this. A world traveler, a dear sister of mine. Love you, my sister. Thanks for being here. The stage is yours.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. It's a great pleasure to be a part of this World Leader Summit. And I've been waiting for this day, probably, I don't know, up from quite a few months now. And I was really, really excited. And then it's one of the biggest opportunity that I've got to share my knowledge to the whole world, actually. So without further ado, today I'm going to talk about networking and partnership. So networking and partnership have played a very, very big role in my life because I belong to event organizing industry. And in that industry, what matters is your network and how many organizations you can partner with to pull off your event. So networking exactly what exactly is networking. There's a like slight difference between there are two things actually. One is networking and one is net weaving. So there's a slight difference between networking and net weaving. Net weaving is kind of a new term for a lot of people. So networking is actually the exchange of information between the people. Somebody you don't know, you go directly and talk to them. While net weaving is like a opportunity that you are given as an individual to go and help other people get connected to other people. So for example, somebody asked me, I want to meet somebody from food industry. So what I do is I help them get connected to somebody in food industry. So I play as the whole process is called net weaving. While if somebody wants to get connected to somebody in food industry and they go it on their own, that's called networking. So there are a lot of ways one can actually create their network. So a lot of time what we hear is, there are like commonly heard problems in networking. Like, I don't have time to go and network with people, or I get nervous when I meet new people, or networking actually did not work for me. Networking does not interest me, so why do I bother? I fear that people will judge me. I don't have access to people in top level. I'm an introvert. How do you expect me to go and talk to somebody just like that? Or how do I start the conversation? Or will he or she respond to what I say? And what if I'm ignored? Seems like I'm begging, asking somebody for something. And you don't know at times what will you get getting connected to that individual. So this kind of process actually keep happening all this time. But there are a lot of importance towards networking. Why should we go and network people around? First, to promote yourself and your brand, to let other people know what exactly you do and what your company is all about. That is so much important because it helps you grow as an individual, to create your own brand along with your own company's brand. Building connections is one of the most important part of any business. Even if it's a small shop beside your house, if whenever you go to that shop, for example, you go to a grocery store near your house, and somebody speaks to you in a very polite way, and they try to talk to you every time you visit them, that's how the relation is made. And no matter how many other new stores that open by around, you actually always want to go to the same store because you feel that you are getting connected there, and then it makes you happy, and that's when your networking skills come forward and it helps your business grow. Even if it applies same with the bigger businesses as well. In any business that you go, like, and if you're selling if you have a car selling company, or even if you have an event organizing company like mine, if you have a good network, you can go and talk to people around and ask for sponsorships and everything. It makes the process much more easier. Now, talking about knowledge sharing, when you talk to somebody today, I have the connection with Arjita, and that's the reason I'm here, and then I'm getting an opportunity to share my knowledge. And hence everybody else had the network with Arjita. That's why all of us were brought together to share our knowledge, and we have a huge event like this World Leader Summit happening today. And it's not only happening today, it's actually happening from past few months, and then past few weeks it's been like brought into implementation, and the whole credit goes to the network that Arjita has. And it also enhances opportunity, not only sharing knowledge. If today I did not have the network with Arjita, probably I would have never got this opportunity to share what I have been doing, or what knowledges do I have got. Improves credibility. Today he has the trust in me, that's why he had that, it improved my credibility to share the knowledge that I have to the world. So if you don't go and network with people around, if you don't constantly tell people around what you have been doing, your credibility does not stay long, and nobody remembers you apparently. It also helps in gathering information. When it's simple as asking somebody to go and speak in front of your classroom, because we are really confident when we are people around our family members, but if we are taken to a pool of people who we don't know and we are asked to speak, there is some kind of hesitance. But if there are people around who you know, then it helps you getting the confidence. And then also, because since you have the network in different fields, you keep sharing the knowledge. So wherever you are asked to speak, you actually get the confidence to go and share your knowledge in various topics. It also helps you in gathering new information, because your network cannot be limited to only your classrooms or your social family circle. It has to actually process. It's a ongoing process. Sometimes your network is built in the classroom. The initial network that we all have is our schools, right? Then it moves to colleges, then it moves to the place we work, then it moves to the business network that we create, then it actually connects it with the people around different organizations that we get involved in, be it some kind of NGO or INGO or some kind of community that we are working. Today I got connected to Arijit Da. It's all because of the Google Business Group community that we both are connected in, right? So it actually enhances new information around us, and it actually helps us really greater our horizon. And also, for better support and advice, networking plays a very, very important role. Now, talking about partnership. So there's a saying, if people like you, they will listen you. But if they trust you, they will do business with you, right? So this partnership is what all about is trust and respect, brand alignment, and similar values and goals shared with the organization. So when you have a pool of network, okay, so for example, my event, I organize an event called Namaste Eid. So for a Namaste Eid event where we actually celebrate Eid as a whole, bringing different community people together. So what kind of people will actually partner with me? Or what kind of organization are going to partner with me? It did not happen like when I actually initially thought about the event, I thought anybody would partner with me. It's a fabulous event, it's a new idea, there's not even single event, Eid event that happened in Nepal. But along the process, in past 3-4 years now, I have come to realize the reason any company will partner with me is for the trust that and the respect that they have for the event. One is that, and does our brand align with each other or not? And do we share the same values and goals or not? For example, if we are targeting the same customer base or not, is one of the biggest questions that we always look forward for in the partnership whenever we do with any event. So for example, or a car company would happily be partnering with my event because it's a family event. Families come to celebrate in that event. But for example, alcohol company is not somebody I would like to partner because it's Eid event. So we can't partner with any alcohol company or beverage company for that sake. So it actually depends upon, do our values and brands align with each other, our customer base align with each other or not. Now, talking about the partnerships advantage, what advantage do we get in partnership? So first is always access of knowledge, because whenever two people meet, they always have two perspectives and they come from different values and different backgrounds. So access of knowledge happens right away whenever you meet somebody. Now comes competitive advantage. Like, what's your USP, right? Whenever you are going to have a lot of competitions around you. But what is your USP? Like, for example, for my event, Namaste Eid, the competitive advantage that always comes around me is my event is actually totally focused towards religious harmony. So the partnering organization who share the same value and goals actually come around and partner with me. And trust me, in one event I have last year I had like 30 companies partnering with me. So what happened was, these 30 companies were promoting the event along with me. it was not only me. A lot of time what happens is we be rigid, we be like, do we actually partner with any organization? But we tend to forget that whenever we actually partner with events, the horizon becomes bigger, and then the customer base that is actually there, it becomes big. So it's really, really important, and it brings the competitive advantage that the organization actually has. It enhances your business and credibility and image in the market as well, because what happens is whenever you partner with any event, with any organization, the organization is actually trusting on you. With that organization comes the other customer base that's aligned with that organization. So for example, in my event, like for example, last year Ford was a part of my event. So with Ford came the Ford family as well, who trusted my event, right? So, and that Ford family is big. So with that, my credibility of my event actually raised higher. It actually increases the customer base as well. That's what I said earlier as well. Like for example, you have one pool of customers who follow you simply as social media. One social media page has maybe 10,000 of followers. My social media has around 5,000 of followers. If I don't partner with anybody, my customer base is going to remain 5,000. But I partner with any organization which has 10,000 followers. Along with that comes the 10,000 people as well. So the total customer base that I have right now will becomes 15,000. So it actually helps us to reach out to more people. That's why people partner with televisions and radios, and they boost it in social media. It's all about trying to reach out to other people in and create more customer base. And it also helps in long-term stability, because when you have a back end supporting you in a lot of your work, it actually helps a lot to improve whatever you have been doing. So always remember, there might be always like every coin has two sides. One has a bad side and one has a positive side. We discussed about all the positive sides that partnership and networking is bringing, but then there are a few disadvantages as well that these things bring. For example, I partnered with a media house last year in my event. The disadvantage that I got was the other media did not come and cover my event. So it played as a disadvantage as well. So you need to make sure that whenever you partner with an organization, you are also since we already discussed the fact that we happen to share our goals and values with that organization. So for example, you partner with an alcohol company for your event. What happens is you're trying to promote alcohol, especially events are targeted to young people. So does that mean you are asking young people to start consuming alcohol, which is in health wise not good, right? So these kind of things come along the way. So always make sure who are you networking with, because some people, yeah, you might be networking with people around with a good intention, but some other people, they don't network with people with good intention. They always want to take and not give back. So always be very careful, because this happens with a lot of girls actually. We go and network with other people, and sometimes the male counterpart, they think it in another way, and they start molesting you. They start asking you to for come for late night dinners, and then asking you to drop you home, some with some good gestures, yeah, but then it sometimes it turns out to be flirting, and sometimes it turns out to be molesting and harassment. And that's why the girls are still afraid to go and partner with any organization, or even go and network with people around. So be very careful about how you process, how you approach somebody, and in what way you actually go and talk to somebody. Yeah, it's a business network that you're trying to do, it's a business partnership you're trying to do, but always remember who you are partnering with. There are few people who don't have a good image in the market. So it's your choice. Do you want to go and partner with that organization just for money, or do you actually want to partner with that organization based on the values that organization has? And because somebody leading that organization as an individual, if that person's values are not right, because recently I got a proposal of promoting somebody I know who was accused as a rapist. And that person, I got this opportunity to work with him. And I actually got a call from the organization, okay, saying that our founder wants to partner with your organization, and we want to promote PR, and we want his interview all over the place. These kind of things keep happening. But I know that person from past few years, and I've heard that. I'm not sure. Okay, I'm not 100% sure that he is somebody who has harassed somebody or tried to rape somebody. But since I had heard the gossip and I had heard this kind of things, I chose not to be associated with his organization or even him, because I did not wanted anybody to question my integrity just for money. So I said, I'm sorry, I'm busy with other work, I can't partner with you. So it's up to your choice if you want to just work for money or also for your ethics and values, you know. So always be very careful about what kind of networking, and what always limit your networks as well. Don't try to be all over the place, but also create in a way that you have a network that you can always go to. A lot of times what we do is we go and meet a lot of people in events, right? And then what happens is we just go and talk to them, and never we take their business card and never follow up. And that's not a right way to create that, because networking is the first step, partnerships comes after that. So always make sure that whenever you go and meet somebody, you take their business card. After a few days, follow up with them. And one of the best ways to network with people around is have a research about who are you going to meet with. That becomes much more of a common ground for people to go and talk as well. So for example, you are going in a panel discussion and there are 3 panelists. Research about those panelists and talk about, and so whenever after the session they are out for the networking session, you can go and talk to them saying, oh yeah, I saw your post yesterday, you were traveling somewhere, you know. So what happens is and that person also starts thinking, oh, this person knows about me, and then they also try to talk to you. So at times what happens is we have zero knowledge about who the person is. We just try to go there, hi, hello, how are you doing, and the conversation ends there. So what happens is, for that is not an effective networking. You were given an opportunity right in your hand. So make sure you always utilize that opportunity in the best optimum level. Thank you so much.
What a beautiful presentation, Faiza. Thank you so much for all the insights. I would love to tell you something. When you actually do something cool in life, and when you hear some probably some words about some person, when you run an organization, you need to understand which role you have on that very moment. Are you the founder, or you are the CEO, or you are acting as COO? If you are the founder, try to talk to the gentleman, forget about whatever you are listening. It's for all the audience. There might be some cases where their competitors try to pull up things, something bad for some person. For an example, for the person you're mentioning, you got a news that he raped someone. There is no proof. You don't know. But you decided not to work with him on a company basis. That's perfect, because it is probably affecting your brand value, your company.
Yeah.
But on a personal note, if you know a person who may not do this, you might be able to continue the conversation on a personal level. But for
that I have been doing whenever we talk in a nice way. It's just that I did not wanted to get him associated with him on a professional level. So
perfect.
I call him brother, and I talk to him in a personal level. So, but then I have my own limitations about what to talk to him, and how much do I talk to him? I can't be with him like I am with you. So it's like hi, hello, and then that's it. But then as an organization, I just chose not to work him just for money, because I know he would have like showered good number of amount if I had helped him get connected and featured in a lot of magazines for his business. He comes from a real estate business company. So I just chose not to, because it just did not give me good vibes.
Super. And I'll tell you another interesting fact. If you, for anyone who is working in any part of the world, if you're actually working for money and if you lose your ethics, world goes in this way. You give 5x to the world, you get 50x back. Okay. So if you're giving 5 bad vibration, you will get 50 bad vibration. And that's how the whole ecosystem, whole world works. I'm really happy that you are in my life, my sister. I'm really happy that you have these ethics in life. And we are blessed. We are happy that we got all these insights from you. I have a question. I have a query for you. When you're talking about networking, when you're talking about business networking, for women, specifically for women, what do you prefer? What kind of approach they should have when they are talking on a business conference, when they are probably exchanging visiting cards with some gentleman who is probably trying to understand your venture? What should be your 3 key tips to would-be entrepreneurs who are female?
So firstly, go and research about that person. For example, you meet a lot of people in the event. It's not possible to go and research about them, all of them before the event, because you don't know who are going to be present there. So whenever you get the business card, be very professional, right? And go in probably groups, so that it becomes safe and it's easier. So what happens is, a lot of time when we go to the events, they actually invite you, like we meet somebody and we talk, and then they say, Lord, let's go for a drink, or let's go like after this event, let's have an after party as well, and let's sit down. So it's up to you. If you get a good vibe, if you are getting a professional vibe, go for it. If you have somebody, group around. But if somebody approaches you, just if you're alone and they say you, let's go out of this event for a coffee or a drink, maybe you should not, because it's not necessary. You can talk to that person the next day as well, with the business card that you have got, after doing a little bit of research on who the person is and where that person comes from. One would be that. Second, always, even if you happen to go with that person out for a coffee, it's not no big deal, right? So make sure that you go in a place that is known to you. The people in that coffee place or wherever you are going, they know who you are, because we all of us mostly have one place that we usually go, right? And the restaurant people already know us, especially in Asian community where we live in. It's actually very common that we go to the regular place. That's what we say, right? So it becomes easy for the person also. You actually feel safe. And the person who has asked you for a coffee or a drink will even not know that you are already in a space where everybody knows you. So one could be that. And another third could be simply saying that, you meet that person, hi, hello, done. And you move out, meet other people, right? And then when you come back home, research about them, and then write to them saying, if your values meet, then you go out for partnership. Otherwise, you just let it be. So it's all about yourself and how safe do you feel among them. And especially with girls, you actually uh, go with a lot of time. What we see is, even if we happen to go in events, we go in 2 or 3 groups, right? To a person of 2 or 3. So go in groups, so that you understand who are what kind of people. So that helps a lot.
Super answer. Beautiful tips. And I'm sure that, you are super happy with your new family. For the audience, my sister is newly married and she's
Not married yet. I just got engaged.
I wanted that answer. Okay, so we are open for we are open for question and answer. So it's open. So any panelists, if you want to question her directly, who will be the first?
Marco? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Marco can go first.
You can, no problem.
Yep.
Okay, so right, really great insights on the brand positioning. When you get partnering or supporting organizations to come around and rally with you on your event, it certainly gives rise to brand validation. And that's what you're doing as well. And it's very important to determine the quality of partnering and supporting organizations so that their values align as per what you said. And interesting. The quote that you shared on Zig Ziglar, when people listen to you, they what was that again? When people trust you, they do business with you, right?
Yeah.
So, and then on the part where you have to remember people's names when you meet them, that totally reminds me of the movie Devil Wears Prada, the Devil Wears Prada, where Andy actually have to help Miranda, her boss, to remember each and every one of the dignitaries' name, and she did actually. That was a wonderful stint actually. Just to give you like applause for all your contents, and good job.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Marco.
Yeah, well, congratulations, Faja, sorry. It's been a long day. You see where I am. I'm at a hotel in Sydney, Australia, and I'm working while socialising and on a panel. So as an entrepreneur, business leader, global business leader, I'm juggling quite a few things. So I can understand and resonate what you're saying regarding networking. 5 years ago, I started one of my companies, and one of the big push was for me to find out through my own failures who's who in the zoo, like you said, networking. And my friends thought I was crazy in the positive sense, because I never slept, and most nights my wife would say, "What are you doing?" She thought I was having an affair, and I said, "It's all good. I've got three women to look after, yourself and my 2 daughters." And I'm a big believer of ethics. I've been trained by my culture, Italian culture, and we have a strong culture for family and respect for and responsibility for people. Just my question to you, so well done. That was fantastic. Your presentation was great. So I learned a lot, and it sort of also made me think about what occurred in the past in my starting point of one of my companies. Networking, you mentioned. One area that I'd like to sort of ask is, I'm a big believer of second chances in life. Sometimes you come across people where they need your hand, and a few stories that I've done in my past with elite sports people, business people, the disabled, the children, the adults around the world. I have a strong feeling of, at times, you need to forgive and forget. And there's a passion that I have, a spiritual passion, that I love giving people a second chance, even though they've put themselves in a very negative position through, either sometimes bad luck or very poor decisions, where in the past they haven't had great mentors like yourself and Arjit, Bin, and our panelists. All you people are inspiring to myself and to the world. So what I'm saying is, the question to you is, do you believe in second chances in business people, and do you focus on women in business, or are you open-minded in looking after a range of different types of socioeconomic groups around the world?
So I am actually a believer of forgiving people and forgetting what they have done. And a lot of time, like, events is a place where there are a lot of mistakes that our vendors always happen to do. They are not on time, the branding is not there. But one thing that I have understood is, I work with people, I can forgive and forget things that they have done. If I don't feel that, okay, I worked with somebody and I'm not getting that kind of vibe from them, the the respect is not there at all, or we don't match the values anymore, I choose not to work with them. It's not like I start talking bad about them or doing anything or leave the personal relation I have with them. It's just that I don't work with them anymore. And I work with people who I have the right kind of mindset aligned with, because in event industry, it's like a last minute thing. And every time, there's some kind of some or other kind of problem coming and arising, and then you need people stand by. So who are those kind of people? Even if at times, like one of my vendors, it does the printing and branding of the flex and everything. So that person does the work a little late, but that person big was there when I actually had a very right a day before I did a lot of brandings and everything. Then that night it rained very badly and we had a big storm. And when the next day morning I went and I saw that all my branding papers were thrown away and everything. So seeing the kind of situation, the vendor actually went and did all the printings and everything very quickly, and even they gave me a discount. So it actually helps in that kind of way. Who are you partnering with? And some kind of partners there are who promise to give you a certain amount of money, and they never uh, they just give you half of the amount money, and then they be like, you do whatever you want to do, I'm not going to pay you, and things like that. So for them, I just forgive and let it go, and then I don't work with them again. So I was actually asked by a lot of people to do some kind of legal case on them and everything. I said, for just 3 lakh, for some kind of $3,000, if I start going and doing legal case on them, it's going to be a big mess. So should I invite negativity, or should I just let that negativity go away from my life? So I choose not to bring that negativity in my life. And talking about what kind of work that I've been doing, my work is focused on helping other businesses grow, even if it's led by women, or and more focused towards obviously women economic empowerment, because I have been doing events that support entrepreneurs to showcase their product. I organize an event where we bring these women-led entrepreneurs from Muslim communities to showcase whatever they're doing, and along with that I celebrate Eid with them. Another event I do is Namaste Mehendi Convention, where we get these henna artists who are women to showcase their art and then create a business out of that. And another event I do is where we actually bring startups and give them free platforms. Around 200 startups last time we exhibited them and gave them free stalls and then free entrance to any audience who want to be a part of it. So my work is mostly around these consulting and training. So obviously personally, I always try to find more of a woman entrepreneurs and support them the best way I can. But as general, as a business, it's for all.
Super, 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 super. And you know what, Faiza, I have a question in my mind. It is also being asked in the Q&A box. How can we take all your initiatives, all your great initiatives globally? Are you open for any kind of proposition where probably we can join hands and do things globally? This is a beautiful thing that you do.
Definitely, because all my events are global events. For example, Eid can be celebrated all around the world. Startups can be exhibited all around the world. Henna artists, because tattoo convention happens a lot, it's like a huge tattoo conventions, international tattoo conventions happening around the world. And these tattoo artists are paid in a huge amount, and they have big studios. But same for henna artists, it's not much. They still are in a very hidden, they are hidden treasures, so something that's not explored by the world, but something that every other house has in a way or the other. So businesses, actually a lot of girls have taken up the role as a henna artist, and then they are earning good amount of money, especially in this wedding season and everything. So those art should actually also be appreciated, especially in the Western world, where tattoo is so much famous, and then they are also looking for temporary tattoos. So henna could be one.
Super. So I think we have another panelist from cold Russia. And when we met together, we I mean, she told me after a cup of coffee, after a couple of conversation, that great lady, I would say, a great human soul. She told me, you are like my best friend, you are like my brother, you are like my boyfriend, you are like my father. So welcome, Evgenia. You can probably turn on your mic and ask her direct question. Evgenia, if we can have you. Are you there with us? Is your mic working? Okay, let me put her question because she already put it in WhatsApp. It is difficult for a woman to understand about a person he wants to have partnership business with you or he wants sex. It is a big problem actually in women entrepreneurship. What is your take on it?
So a lot of times, yeah, this is one question, one issue that comes arriving always, right? So it's up to you. I think how do you want to keep it professional, or like stop meeting if that somebody is trying to give those kind of hints to you. Stop meeting them in public places. Just meet them in their offices or ask that person to come your office and keep it very strictly professional. And if you think that person is going out of the line, stay away from that person. Or even if it's possible, maybe you can also have, what you can also do is like keep recordings. Like our phone has recordings these days, right? So simply start recording the conversation, and then you can actually go and create, you know, a kind of a threat to that person, saying, if you are not going to stop this, I'm going to make it public. You know, one thing is that. So it's always safe to be on the safer side. So from day one itself, if you get slight hint about that person trying to be a little more than professional, then start recording yourself. And if it's getting a little bit out of hand, then make it a point that you go to the police station or wherever. And today's social media world is such a huge powerful platform. You can always write about them in social media so that they don't have guts to do anything like that here on. Because even if they go to police station, they might just bribe the police and everything, and then they might come out. But if you write about them in social media, the platform has become so powerful that it's going to be all around the place, and that person uh, will be in shame. And
Super.
also it might bring the threat of acid attacks and everything. So it's also your call that how you want to take it.
Okay, probably we'll take
So
some more
you can
questions.
always go legally about it, or you can write about it in social media.
Okay, probably we'll take more questions and more answers regarding the same, but I think we have our next speaker with us from Lebanon. Fadi, are you there with us? I can see that you are there. Yeah.
Hello, hi Arjit. Hello everyone. Good morning.
How are you? How are you doing?
Fine, all is good.
Super.
How's your level of energy after all these days? Amazing.
Well, it's rocking. It's increasing day in and day out. 22 hours.
Great.
22 hours awake, 2 hours sleep in a day on a continuous 3 months basis. I am supercharged. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, let me welcome Fadi Nafa. Fadi is a dear friend from Lebanon. He is helping startups to scale up and SME deliver results. Fadi is the program director of Lebanese Enterprise Development LED, a project funded by USAID. He's a business consultant in Stanford Seed, a great human being, a program director, a great mentor with 15 years of international experience. Fadi, welcome to World Leaders Summit.
Thank you, Arjit. Thank you for having me. It's a really great pleasure. I was, for the past 5 days, I was on and off, watching all other speakers. It's really a great summit that you were able to pull out together. I'm happy to be here.
Thank you. So the stage is yours, Fadi. I'll manage the whole thing from the back end. So we are open for your enlightening speech. And yes,
So thank you, Arjit. So today we're gonna talk a little bit about how you get your startup ready for investment, some tips and tricks based on what I see all around the world. So we'll hit the road directly. So it's very important whenever you're preparing for your pitch to think why you're going to pitch, what are your expectations, and set a realistic expectation. Unfortunately, a lot of startups go to pitch in front of an investor, and in their back of their mind think that that's it, I'm gonna nail it. Where unfortunately it's not the case. Usually when you want to pitch to an investor, you need to have one and only one goal, which is get that investor desire to know more about your startup, not to close the deal. And this is a huge disappointment point that all startups face. They don't understand that raising investment, it's a long journey. It's not